I wanna just check the temperature in your room. Who's worked with us before? You know, you have. Thank you. And as agents, have we represented you at all? No. Okay. You know, Fernando has. Thank you, Fernando, for working with us. Okay, Susie, you too, right? So thank you guys. Jorge as well. Gio, not yet. His son's working with us. Very good. So, first of all, I wanted to see who's here has invested in real estate at all. Virgil? Okay. Awesome. What kind of investing have you done so far?
Single family, short-term rental, mid-term rental.
Okay. Oh, nice. So you've been doing quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Good, good. So what kind of work do you do?
I run a business facility company that does building maintenance for hospital.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Well, first of all, thank you guys for spending your morning here with us. I know there's plenty of other things you could be doing, like sleeping or maybe hiking like I do. I enjoy hiking and going out in the mountains. It's a way for me to disconnect and enjoy. So thank you for being here. And one of the things that I want to talk about first is mindset. Many of us were raised a certain way, right? We were raised I was raised when I was growing up, my father rented a room. I was 11 years old. I remember this vividly. This kind of shaped my mind. My father was renting a room. We slept in a mattress on the floor. It was my mom, my dad, and myself. And I didn't like living that way. Even though I was a little kid, I was conscious about that. And I'm like, how did this guy owns a home and my father cannot do it? And it wasn't because my father wasn't able to afford it. It was because he didn't have the mindset to purchase a home. His idea was to go back home and live in Mexico, which I don't blame him for that. I mean, he worked his butt off here since 1948 until he retired when he was in his 60s. And to him, that was the dream that came true. And we lived in Mexico and he was fine. He lived a beautiful life. But for me, it always kind of hit me hard to live that way because we were moving every single year. I went to like 6 elementary schools, like 4 different junior highs and like 4 different high schools. And I hated it. So to me, it was like, I want to own a home. I want my kids to go to one school. They did. So all of the things that I wanted to do, I was able, thanks to God, to do those things. And one of the things that I feel was a game changer for that is the mindset that I had, right? I wanted to do different things. I wanted to do things differently. And where I came from didn't have to determine where I was going to. And for many people, what they know is what they live with, what they grew up with. And that becomes your mold, right? So growing up, I've always been curious and I always wanted to learn how do people do it? How do rich people get richer, right? So there's actually a path to follow. And you guys have probably heard this concept is success leaves clues. What does that mean? That means that other people have lived before you and other people have done it before you and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So the reason we started doing these seminars is because I started investing 6 years ago. And you guys might have heard the story, but I'm still going to repeat it again because I think it's worth noting how I changed from just helping people buy and sell their homes. And a lot of you guys work in construction, do these kinds of jobs. You guys have amazing incomes. But the thing is, sometimes we make so much money and we spend it or instead of investing it. Good morning, Ed. And it's not that we want to, it's just that we don't know what to do with it, right? A lot of us will go buy a stupid car or you know, a crazy vacation, which I think you should do it if you deserve it because you work for that, right? It's good to travel and enjoy, but also you want to think ahead. And one of the things that going back to as I was growing up is I lived in the mindset that what if I die tomorrow? I'm going to spend everything that I have. I'm going to enjoy my life because I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow. But then I started changing that question and asking, what if I don't? What if I last a little longer? And working in this industry has opened up my eyes to see that a lot of people will get to their retirement and not be able to retire. Not only that, I have a friend of mine or a client who I love him. He's 72 years old and has 2 jobs. Who here wants to have 72 freaking years old and work 2 jobs? I don't think any of us, right? Well, if we don't think about it, if we just go to work and then the weekend we party, we have fun, and then we go to work, before you know it, you're going to get to that point where you think you're going to retire, you're not going to be able to. So what I'm trying to achieve with this is it changed my life. I'm not there yet, and I don't want to say that I ever arrived because this is a continuous growth path that we're in, right? We're not there yet. We're never going to get there. But the point of this is, how do I continue to invest in myself, first of all, because you cannot outgrow yourself. And this is another powerful point to note, is the only way you're going to get ahead or further is by growing yourself. Remember, have you guys heard of people that win the lottery, or maybe on the news or some shows, where they end up broke again, right? What do you guys think that is? They don't know what to do with it, right? Exactly. So they're in their mindset, they're still poor, right? So if you don't change the way you think about yourself, you're always going to be that poor person. And not saying that there's nothing wrong with being poor. It's okay. Like, I'm poor, right? But the point of that is, how do I change my mind so that I can get to be that person that becomes a millionaire? I'm going to give you guys a bad example, because a lot of people, it's not to be controversial, but Trump was a billionaire, right? He's still a billionaire, but before, he went broke, and a lot of people gave him crap about that because he filed bankruptcy several times. You guys have heard about that, right? And people say, well, that guy was, a billionaire, became a millionaire, but in his mindset, he's not a millionaire. He has a billionaire mindset. So he goes back to being a billionaire very easily. So when you have that path, when you say, you know what, I'm comfortable with this certain income, you're going to be able to do that because of the person you become, not by the things you do. Because a lot of people work really hard. And I say this with love. If the hardest worker is the person that is the richest, I mean, the construction worker, or the people that does the hardest work should be the millionaires, right? Or the richest people, but it's not the case. It's what you do with the wealth you're able to accumulate. They did a study, and this blew my mind. Teachers and engineers are some of the wealthiest people. And teachers you guys can agree to that, right? They don't make a lot of money, but it's because of what they learn and how they do things that takes them to become wealthy. So our goal here is that you guys walk away with a little more knowledge than you came in. Maybe with that tip that's going to take you to the next level. So the first thing, like I said, that I would challenge you guys with is to change your mindset. And for those of you that are taking the time to be here, I want to applaud you. Please give you guys yourself an applause, because you're taking the first step towards becoming wealthier little by little. And I didn't finish the story, so let me take you guys back to the person that changed my life, and it was a landscaper. This guy, I know he was an investor, so I would bring him deals, right? And at this point, I called him up and I said, dude, look at this guy. He's listed a property for $117,000. This house is worth $170,000. This realtor does not know what he's doing. So we go see the house, and he's like, tells me, Juanito, I like it. Let's buy it. He buys the cash, and as soon as he closes, he says, Juanito, why didn't you buy it? And it kind of hit me. Like, I didn't think about that. I was just trying to make my $5,000 commission. I didn't think about the $60,000 equity that could have gotten in making that a rental. So this is something that changed my mind into how I saw every single listing that I go to. So now when I go to see someone that's going to list their home, of course I'm going to do the best for their interest, what's in their best interest. But if they don't want to sell to someone, a regular buyer, and just sell quick, then I put my investor hat, and then I'm going to be able to buy it. So recently we just acquired 2 properties in the last month, and we've been buying property ever since. And needless to say, we built a small, pretty good portfolio. And one thing that I want to emphasize, this is not about getting rich quick. It's not a quick get rich quick scheme. Most of those end up in the wrong position, right? So think about 5-10 years. So for those of you that are considering investing, don't think that this is going to be an overnight success. Yes, people that bought in 2019, they did amazing. So did people that bought in 2014, and so did those that bought in 2010. So if you see the pattern, real estate is always going to go up, and the guys are going to show you guys how that works with proven graphs that you guys can search on your own. And one of the things that I would encourage you guys to do also is do your own research, okay? And also start thinking about, what books should I read? One that I highly recommend, if you guys want to make note of this, it's called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. It was written by Gary Keller. I used to be at Keller Williams, and that guy is like the Einstein of real estate. I mean, he studies real estate very deep. And the concepts there are very simple, yet powerful. They can take you to the next level. And I'm in this journey with you guys. I'm learning. And again, I want to thank you guys for being here. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Raul so he can continue introducing people. And I hope you guys take note, make a lot of notes, and learn as much as you can. All right? Thank you, guys.
Well, it's a great honor to be here. Seeing all you guys show up. It's really hard to follow that. Like, we literally can just go home right now. The seminar's done, guys. Just do what he said. But definitely, we have a lot of knowledge for you guys. We like to put this together every once in a while. Next time, come back because consistency is the key. Just like when you go to church, you keep on putting it in, and eventually you act it out, right? You do the right thing. Anyway, I'm not going to preach to y'all, but I want to thank you for attending. And basically, I want to introduce you to our sponsors. We got Guaranteed Rate. We got Quick Mortgage. If you guys could come up, please. Who else is a sponsor? Who else? That's it. That's it for now. Okay. Oh, Paul. Paul, come on up. Come on up. I just want to introduce to you guys. These people, my name is Raul Hernandez. I didn't introduce myself. Sorry. I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor on this team for a while, and I'm very proud to be a realtor from the Grimaldo Group because we really care about what people do in the next steps in their life. So when you come to us, you're not just another transaction. You're going to get guided to become a millionaire or billionaire. So take it with, it's a serious matter that you're entering our world. All right. Paul, ¿cómo te llamas? Who are you?
So I'm going to give you a lot of info how to get permit, how to build, and the team is going to tell you how to sell, where we can get better.
Sharp as a tack, this guy.
Rodriguez, the money man, mortgage, and also been an investor for many, many years, ever since my first deal. I'll tell you a little bit.
My name is Ricardo. I'm a mortgage loan officer as well. And yeah, just here to basically be part of you guys and also set up my mindset of a little real estate portfolio. So what better way to be here today? So thank you for
Woo-hoo. Thank you, guys. I'm very intimidated when I'm around these guys because they have a lot of goals that I want to achieve. Carlos and Andres, could you come up here, please? I want to get their little six-pack thing. I want to talk like them. Man, they're so eloquent and so, they're not the typical millennial. Or what are you guys, millennials or
Gen Z?
Gee whiz. Okay, we're gonna pass it on to them. They have a plethora of knowledge.
Can you guys hear me? How's everybody doing today? Awesome. We're going to learn a lot of great stuff today. Carlos and I, we're real estate agents with the Grimaldo Group, and we have a couple slides we want to show you guys just about basically the market in general. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions. So we're just going to clear all those out, kind of get a feel of the room as well, see what you guys feel, what the market and how it's moving today. So yeah, nonetheless.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, my name is Carlos. I'm again a real estate agent with the Grimaldo Group, and we'll get started.
Awesome. So, well, actually, can we just go back one more? Before we get in, who thinks interest rates are high right now? You think interest rates are high? It's okay. You don't have to be shy. A lot of people think interest rates are high. I mean, that's what you hear on the news all the time. Hear from other people. Why do you think they're high?
Look at a number, we just assume.
Yeah. Right now. Okay. Right? Who doesn't? Right? Definitely better for us, better for our pockets, right? Well, that could be a double-edged sword. So we're actually going to break down a little bit as far as for what the history has been in interest rates. So yeah, we could jump right into it if you want to start with it, Carlos.
All right. So since you mentioned you think they're high, we're gonna show you guys some graphs, and this graph is a Federal Reserve graph. it goes back into history all the way from the 1970s to current day, as we can see. But if we take a look in April of 1971, we were already at 7 point. Sorry. We're already at a 7.3% interest rate, right? So moving forward, 1975, 9.3. And then as we move forward in history to the 1980s, then I mean, as you guys can see, we reached the
18%.
18% interest rate.
Almost 20%. Isn't that crazy? Did anybody know that? That interest rates were that high back then? I mean, just imagine the people who were financing houses. Like, if you had perfect credit, that's the best interest rate you're gonna get. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys shop for cars sometimes and you just go to the dealership and then you ask them, hey, like, I want to finance this car, and they give you like a 15% interest rate and you're like, that's crazy. Imagine going to buy a house and that's the best interest rate you could get. Because a lot of people at this time, if they were applying for houses or mortgage or cars, more than likely they were already in the 20% range. And we're actually in a very similar situation because if you see what, you may ask yourself, okay, how come was there such a big spike in the interest rates? And it was a very similar situation because back then what they did is they wanted to combat inflation. Inflation was very high at that moment. So what the government did is they actually rose interest rates to combat inflation. And we're actually going through something very similar today. And that's the reason why interest rates are rising. And there's a lot of debate if interest rates should go down now or if they should continue to stay where they're at. But we'll get a little deeper into that later.
And then eventually, obviously, you know, the interest rates did start to drop. A lot of people will say, well, you know what, the houses were a lot less back then. But then at the same time, people earned less back then. You know, what you could purchase back then today is, you know, it's not doable. So eventually, you know, we started moving forward to the 1995s. We're already at a 9% interest rate.
So I just want to kind of point out the fact right here in 1995. So if you pretty much see all the way down from the 70s to the 90s, the interest rate average was more than likely around 11%. So right now, us sitting between maybe what, like a 6.5 right now, would you say, Ricardo?
5.5.
5.5?
Right now.
Okay. So just imagine everybody who was purchasing homes at that time. I mean, if you got a 9% interest rate in 1995, would you agree that you probably got a better interest rate compared to everybody else? I mean, if a lot of people who ended up purchasing in the 80s, I mean, they got stuck with 11, 12%. So this right here in the 1995, we actually went through a refinance boom because a lot of people decided to refinance because more than likely, if they bought right here, they bought at maybe an 18%, 15%, 14%. They see a 9% and they're like, wow, this is golden. Like, I was waiting for this, right? And this is what's actually going to be happening here pretty soon. Since we are at pretty much at like a 5.5, today's interest rates, by the way, just so you guys know, is the lowest it's been since October 2024. So right now we're in a pretty good spot, but we'll get in a little deeper into that as well.
All right. And the 2000s, this is what a lot of people remember, this whole period right here. From the 2000s on, you know, the lower interest rates. Obviously, you know, in the early 2000s, we were still at an 8%. As we started getting closer to 2005, then they started coming down. And do you guys know by any chance, you know, I'm sure many of you guys bought a home in the early 2000s. Did anybody buy a home around that time?
Anybody buy it before the market crash? No? Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. We like to see that.
If you did, I'm pretty sure you guys, you know, got it at a really, really good price as well.
I want to highlight 2005. So what happened in 2005, the market was actually very competitive. Very similar situation because if you see right here, interest rates finally started trickling down. And that's when we actually saw how the market was behaving before the boom. And we'll actually see the graphs as far as for the home prices. But once we look at those graphs, you'll see that home prices actually started to skyrocket in 2005. And their interest rate was at 5.6. Right now, Ricardo said we're about a 5.5 if we can buy you down. So just imagine if the interest rates were to drop another 0.5%, how crazy the market can really get, right? And the good thing is we're in such a sweet spot in Phoenix where there's so much growth coming to the city. For example, I don't know if you guys know about the TSMC. Does that ring the bell to anybody? Anybody know anybody who worked there by any chance? No? That project has been going on for about 4 or 5 years now, and it's projected to go on for another 25 years. And this project is actually working with making microchips for phones, cars, tablets. So right now, they're actually just announced that they're going to be doing about a $200 billion investment in the TSMC. Does anybody know where it's at, by any chance? Where is it at?
303, North Peoria.
Yeah, North Peoria. So right where the 17 and the 303 meet, you'll see it. So just so you guys know, Samsung and Apple just announced that they're going to be fabricating their microchip there, here in Phoenix. So if you think about it, okay, a $200 billion project, like that's a lot of money. Imagine all the contractors who are going to be working there. Do you think they need a place to live? Probably, right? Everybody needs a place to live. Do you think they're going to be buying here in the Phoenix area, or they're going to be buying elsewhere? They're going to be buying here. So we have 25 years of guaranteed jobs because of that micro plant. And that's actually bringing a lot of tech companies. A lot of people don't know this, but Arizona actually has really great tax incentive businesses. So, and that's why we're actually seeing a lot of people coming from California. Unfortunately, we're driving down the freeways and then we see somebody speeding, we see a California plate. Well, it's because they came here because we pay less in taxes compared to everybody else here. So
I got to make a note there too, because I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. He just got hired to work at the TSMC. Who here works in construction? Okay. What are the average wages?
I mean, entry level construction job right here in Phoenix, are running around $20 an hour. Supervisor, project manager, you're anywhere up to say 50 up to 300,000.
And there's a lot of those, right? But what I want to emphasize is 20 is the average. This guy got hired on and he's making $75 an hour. Because a lot of people are thinking, well, there's no jobs that pay that much. There's a lot, because is there a shortage where you guys are at? Like, do you guys struggle to get people?
It's like supply and demand. A lot of people don't want to come out here to 150. Right? That's the reason why I'm here. I mean, I moved here because of travel, work, and I actually moved my income to say I live in Arizona because I was getting taxed as a traveler an extra $12,000 a year. So just moving here saved me another $12,000.
Let's go. And that's happening a lot. So what Andres is saying and also emphasizing is the fact that just because you're in an industry or in a place that things don't change, things are changing, guys. And if you're not part of that change, you're going to be left behind. And for those of us that have been in the industry for a little bit, I bought in 2005. The market is very cyclical, and the guys are going to go over that. But we're sitting in a beautiful time bomb, which is going to be exploding in the next few years. And that's why we're going to keep doing these every month so that people understand and know where they're at. Obviously, it is for our business, but also we want to help you guys take advantage of that and be able to see what the possibilities are for the future, and you take advantage of that wealth creation.
And one more comment, just to note about the TSMC. So just imagine the people who are actually working there, not just the contractors, but the engineers fabricating the microchips. Just to give you a little side story, I actually know an agent who had a listing earlier this year in North Phoenix. They had the house listed for like $615 cash. A Taiwanese engineer came in, offered $605 cash. Just let that sink in. So these people are coming in with big pockets. A lot of people think that, hey, housing is going to get unaffordable in Arizona. Yeah, it might for Arizonians, right? But people coming down here, I mean, they see the prices. They compare to California. If you see $1 million house, you could buy easily a $400,000 house, and it's going to look even better than that $1 million house in California. So just let that sink in for a little.
Okay,
2010.
so 2005, then we move forward. You guys know, I'm sure, what happened.
2010.
Yeah, no, right before that.
Yeah, so basically we had the market crash in 2008, and if you go to 2010, you can see right here, now you can see the interest rates trickling down. You see that? And what a lot of people do is they think this is the norm, right? But if you just take that off, in reality, if you take about an average, a 50-year average, we're sitting about 7.7%. So a lot of people think, 5% interest rate is the normal, but in reality, we just got spoiled for 10 years, if you just see that, right?
And Arizona was still growing in this whole time as it continues to. I'm sure you guys seen everything that's being built in the West Valley, especially, the East Valley as well is growing a lot. So yeah, this is what people remember. And like Andres said, we had 10 years of pretty good interest rates. And then 2015, we seen almost all-time lows, 4%. And do you guys remember what happened here? Or actually, yeah, there's somebody called it. Okay, yeah, so COVID. So obviously, unfortunately, a lot of people suffered from that, lost their jobs. But what did that also create in the inventory was that obviously, the prices started to rise for the homes. People from California, I'm sure everybody knows somebody that moved from California, came out here, maybe sold their home out there and bought two out here. A lot of these prices started skyrocketing in, and especially due to the fact that the interest rates, 2.4%. Imagine buying a home at 2.4%. Does anybody know anyone that bought at that rate, or
Did anybody buy during
anybody
COVID by any
bought at
chance?
that rate?
You bought in COVID. What interest rate did you get, if you don't mind me asking? 2.5.
2.5.
Wow. Or are you wanting to refinance here soon?
No, we sold it.
Oh, there you go. I like that. Awesome.
Good.
So I actually wanted to ask a quick question. Does anybody know why we had 10 years of lower interest rates? Maybe like just an idea? Anybody? Maybe a lender in the room?
To incentivize buyers to get back into the market, boost up the economy after the crash.
Exactly. Everything is manipulated, guys. So basically, after the 2008 crash, the government wanted lower interest rates because everybody knew that if they bought a house, they thought that they were going to lose it eventually. So a lot of people decided not to purchase anymore. And what the government said, okay, we need to incentivize people to buy because we need to boost the economy. When people are purchasing stuff, that's good because overall people are making money, right? So what they did is they lowered interest rates and that incentivized a lot more buyers to purchase. Now, if we see COVID, 2.8%, we've never had interest rates like that ever in the history. So now you could ask yourself, okay, how come interest rates dropped so low? And it's a very similar situation like it was in 2008 in the aspect that what happened was a lot of people were scared. Everybody thought the world was going to end. I don't know if you guys thought the world was going to end, but I thought it was going to end. I was watching the news and I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like Ebola was going to kill us and now it's COVID. I'm like, what is going on? So essentially that's what ended up happening. Everybody was so scared and the government's like, okay, we need to put a stop to this. So we're going to lower interest rates. And that's when real estate just started booming. Juan was in the industry. That was one of the busiest years that we've had. And it's all due to interest rates, right? A lot of people think, hey, I want to buy when the interest rates drop at 2-3%. So you purchased during COVID, right? Do you know how many offers you had to compete when you purchased during COVID against? I know it was probably a while ago. Probably multiple offers though, right?
We're still living in California. That interest rate.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that you pointed that out because a lot of people were buying houses sight unseen. And yeah, because there was no inventory, right? You see the pictures, that's the house that looks the best out of all of them. And you're like, hey, I have no other choices. I'm going to go ahead and submit an offer even though I haven't seen this house. Back then, people were offering $20,000 to $30,000 above asking. Now I want to tell you guys a story. So basically, I think the next one just goes to modern day interest rates, right? 2024. So basically, I want to highlight just a zoom in. So basically in 2022, June of 2022, the market actually reached the peak in prices. So what ended up happening is the lower interest rates from COVID finally peaked, and we actually had 6 months where prices were dropping, which was basically going into 2023, so January. And what ended up happening was interest rates, if you go back during COVID, so they were at 2-3%, right? So pretty much like around April of 2022, the interest rate was actually about 5.25%, okay? Do you think at a 5.25%, the market was busy or was it slow? Any guesses? You think it was busy? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so basically, it was busy. So what ended up happening there, just to give you a little perspective, I was helping out a client. There was only maybe like 3,000 homes available on the market. And at that time, my client had to compete with 19 other offers at a 5.25% interest rate. He didn't get a 3%, he didn't get a 2%, he got a 5.25%, and he had to compete with 19 other offers. When you have to compete with 19 other offers, your room to get closing costs out the door. Has anybody purchased a home in the last 3 years? You? Did you guys get closing costs paid for? Right? That's a beautiful thing. In COVID, I didn't even know you could ask for closing costs. It was that crazy. And basically back then, you had to come up with your down payment. So if you're buying like a $400,000 house at a 3.5%, that's what, 14, 15 grand around there. Now you have to pay for your closing costs. Closing costs typically cost between $6,000 to $8,000. And closing costs, by the way, closing costs is basically title fees, insurance, taxes, and loan fees as well. So that is easily about $6,000 to $8,000. So if you just add that onto what we're talking about, that's $23,000. Now at that time, if you wanted the house, you had to tell the seller, hey, I'm gonna pay you X amount of money cash on top of what the house is worth because I want you to accept my offer. So a lot of people had to come up with $10,000 cash above the house. And then if you wanted to do an inspection, a lot of people were even waiving inspections. So a lot of people think, hey, I got this amazing rate, 2-3%. Yeah, you got an amazing rate, and maybe in the long run it's gonna be good. But I'd rather buy at a house at a higher interest rate where I'm able to ask for closing costs, get a price reduction, maybe even some repairs done. And then let's say 3-4 years down the line, if interest rates drop to 5%, I could go ahead and refinance, and I have the confidence that my house is going up in value at the same time.
Was happening back then, some buyers, they were so desperate to buy that they would actually pay the seller's closing costs. It was that bad. So, and one thing that I want to note here, guys, because of the rates going down so low, I mean, that was like free money. If they lend you a 2.8% annually, isn't that like free money? I mean, I would buy, that's when I started buying real estate. And again, maybe people will say he was lucky. But guess what? If you buy now, get a good price, get a good discount, get closing costs paid, and then the rates drop, and if they don't, but if they do, you can just refinance. But if not, you're gonna be at the mercy of the market of the moment, and you're gonna pay that price, maybe your closing costs, like Andres said, and then maybe even on top of that, pay more.
Exactly.
So
Yep, 100%.
that was historic, and that was like, probably, I hope we see it, but I don't think we're gonna see it again in our lifetime. All right.
And then current day market. Did we go over that one too?
Yeah, I mean, 7% in 2024. Right now, we were speaking with Ricardo. We're about a 6.5%, 6%. So interest rates have been trickling down, which is good news. And the great thing about today is that a lot of people still don't know interest rates have dropped. So you could still jump in before, all the spring buyers come in. Because what happens during spring? People do taxes, right? Now, if people do taxes and they get a little extra money, what do you think they're going to want to do with that money? Invest it, probably buy a house, right? So right now, we're inclining towards the winter months where it typically does slow down. So a lot of buyers are at an advantage right now because they don't have to compete with so much people. And especially since the interest rates dropped and they're the lowest they've been since October 2024, we're sitting pretty right now as far as for interest rates and getting pretty good deals.
Yeah. Somebody said that, I think it was you back there. You said that the interest rates you thought were high, right? After seeing this, what is your thoughts now? Do you think that we are where we're supposed to be at? Do you think that they're still high, or do you think that on the average, right?
Pretty much, right?
Yeah, because I mean, if you guys, the graph speaks for itself, and if you guys just do like if we were to do an average line of like where the rates should be at, I mean, like you said, we're right there.
One thing that I also want to emphasize, guys, for these guys that are younger and for you guys that are younger, first of all, can I give them a round of applause? You guys have a huge advantage. Think about it 20 years from now, because one thing that most people don't think and realize is, I buy a house right now at this price, but what's going to happen in 20 years? Forget about the price and forget about the rate. If you don't live in that house, especially for the you guys that are younger, somebody else is paying that mortgage, and in 20 years, that's going to be almost paid off. Think about it. Because we get so focused on the interest rate, we get so focused on the purchase price that we forget about the time going on. And as I said, you can either live your life just kind of coasting, go to work, rest. We become zombies, boom, boom. And then we forget the time is passing by. And when you buy these properties and you just wait, and you just wait, that's why I think people say I'm lucky, right? Like my buddy that's going to speak, and don't miss that seminar. He owns 300 homes. He's my age, about 46 years old. So just think about the power that you guys have with the age. This guy owns 2 homes already, right? So he's 22 years old.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm so proud of that. My daughter, 23 years old, she bought her home too. So it's important that you guys start at a young age. Just think 20 years from now, because people say, oh, I'm still young, I'm in my 30s. Are you? Do you guys know what the life expectancy was back in the early 1900s? Who knows? About 62. 1 out of 40 people would live to 62. In their mid 40s, they would die. So some of us wouldn't even be here right now. So when you think about the fact that you're young, think twice. And I say this with passion because we don't think about it, guys. Nobody teaches about that, right? We just go, we work, we make good money, but we go spend it. And then we go get to retirement again. That's my main point with this. All right, guys. That gets
Definitely.
right.
So we just go ahead.
So we just went over that one.
So we're gonna go over the closed sales between 2019 and 2024, just to give you guys some perspective as how the movement has been in the last couple of years.
All right. So what do you guys think about the inventory right now? Do you guys think there's a lot of homes, a little bit of homes available, enough for everybody, enough for Arizona? Well, we're gonna take a look. This is an estimate right here, 71,879 homes sold in 2020, which was around the COVID era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was COVID, guys. 71,879 homes in 1 year. That's pretty crazy. And that's due to the interest rates. As we were seeing the interest rates, they're about 2-3%. And that's what you're going to get at a 2-3% interest rate.
72,435 homes sold in 2021.
So this was still COVID. We were still living pretty lower interest rates. When we actually started seeing a change in the market was in 2022, and you will see that reflected right now.
54,816 homes sold in 2022.
So I was telling you guys, in June of 2022, the market reached a peak in prices, right? And then we actually started seeing a drop in prices for about 6 months after that. And the reason why is because interest rates were at 2-3% in the beginning of the year, and then they shot up to 6%. I remember making calls around like November, October time, telling people, hey, prices are dropping. You guys have been waiting for this, and you guys are able to negotiate. And a lot of people, what did they tell me? I'm going to continue to wait for prices to drop. I was like, bro, I literally called you in January, and you were telling me you wanted what's it called? The prices to drop, and now they're dropping, and now you're not wanting to buy. And it's funny because we'll see in the prices, but actually in 2023 they actually started to go up. So what happens was it was a whole correction. So the market was too crazy. COVID was not a normal years more than anything, and the market corrected itself more than anything. And then we could jump into 2023 right now as well.
45,760 homes sold in 2023.
So 2023, it was a different year because at that year we were pretty much sitting between a 7 to 8% interest rate the whole time. I mean, a lot of people think that interest rate's really high, but if you look at that number, still 45,000 homes sold at that time. I mean, that's not a little number, and we're not even expanding all of state of Arizona. We're just pretty much looking in Maricopa County right now. So 45,000 homes in a market where everybody thought it was trash, which is pretty funny.
2024, 45,636 homes sold, which is it's really not a big difference.
No, not a big jump. And we in 2024 was still kind of a similar year. We actually, like around September time of 2024, we saw interest rates drop out 6% at that time. Right now, like Ricardo said, we're between 5.5, 6. And at that time, we were doing so many applications. But the majority of the year, interest rates even rose up to 8% at that time. But still, 45,600 homes. And actually, in 2024, it was a bit of a slower market as far as for appreciation of homes. We saw about a 4% average. So if you bought a $400,000 house, that's roughly about 18 grand. I mean, that's not bad. For a slow year, 18 grand, I'll take that. For just sleeping in your house.
All right, now we're gonna take a look at today's market and what that looks like. So currently there's 13,267 homes for sale, active and coming soon, which means the coming soons are gonna be listed pretty quickly here. So the question was, do you guys think that's enough, a little bit for Arizona? If there's 13,000 homes available for the way Arizona is growing right now, do you guys think that this actually doesn't include new construction?
And this is single-family detached homes, so regular
Single
homes.
family, detached, active listings here in Maricopa County. Right?
Yeah, so we're excluding condos, townhouses, etc. But still, 13,267 homes. I mean, I drove down the freeway this year, and I drive down the 303, and I still saw a bunch of cars. And then that freeway used to never be packed. So just think about driving when the next time you guys are driving down the I-10 on rush hour, and you see this number. Do you think that's enough?
For the people, I mean, that's probably what you see in one day, just in the highway.
Exactly.
So, remember this number for those of you who are good in math. Now we're gonna take a look at the next ones. Now, there's 4,726 homes under contract. What does that mean? That they're gonna close within a week or the next 30 days, right? So out of those 13,000 homes, there are 13,000 and some change. Was it? Yeah, 13,267. There's 47, so almost 5,000 homes under contract, which means that they're gonna close in the next, week to 30 days.
Does anybody think the market is dead right now? What are you guys hearing? No, you don't think so? Okay. Awesome. I like that. Anybody else? I mean, if everybody sees the news, everybody sees what? Price reductions, housing markets crashing, this and that. 4,700 homes. So 4,700 families are in the process of purchasing a home right now. Do you think that's a lot or a little?
Out of the
It's know why it's inevitable. Like even in the worst market, it goes up. Can you let them know that? Like why? It even goes up even in the worst market because, well,
Let's hear it.
people die. Right? Unfortunately, people get married.
Right?
People go to college. People, everything that happens in life, a life-changing event, makes people go out and buy a home. No matter, even if it's 10%, even if it's 20%, people need to buy a house.
it's a need,
So
yeah, it's a necessity.
that graph forcefully and evidently will keep going.
I'm going to give you an example of that, Raul, and I forgot to tell you guys earlier. How did I meet you?
You met me, I went to high school with your daughters.
Okay. What did I used to,
The same high school together.
what did I used to tell my daughters? You guys remember when we were taking to school? I had the privilege of taking them to school every morning, and I would tell them, all these kids are going to be homeowners. And they used to laugh, Dad, oh, whatever, Dad. Well, there's one right here. and there's many of them because he sold some of properties to your friends,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Some of the people that he went to school with. And this is what people don't realize. They say, well, you know what? Things are changed. They're stagnant. Well, there's more kids that are coming in, and they're going to want their own home. And they're going to continue to buy. Those kids right there, right? So this is what people don't realize and don't think about. They just focus on their situation, their income, their possibilities, but they don't know about all the possibilities with TSMC and all this other stuff that is going around us. Who knows about BNSF? Okay, Grand in the 303, they're going to build a $3 billion facility, which is going to distribute. So instead of sending the semi trucks to the I-10, they're going to be delivered through the 303 and by Grand, which is going to bring thousands of jobs. Which those people that have those jobs are going to need homes. Which those homes are going to need services. Those services are going to need more people, and those people are going to need homes. And it's a never-ending story. And this is where the opportunity lies for those people that are thinking of investing or aren't thinking about investing, and maybe now this is going to open up your mind to it and buy real estate. Because the other thing is, do you guys know how much of GDP or the gross domestic product real estate is? You guys know what that is? So basically the economy, 36% is real estate. When somebody buys a home, Fernando, they hire you to do the flooring and all the other stuff. They sell paint, they sell tile, they sell carpet, they sell everything. And who works behind those industries? So it's a whole economy that you guys are part of. And when you become part of it, the government likes you and they give you incentives. And that's one thing that I think Andrew's going to talk about. But that's all I got. I'm not going to interrupt anymore, guys.
No, there you go.
All right.
So yeah, thank you guys. I hope you guys were able to learn something. Thank you.
Any questions or concerns or something that we might have not covered?
So now seeing these graphs, who's excited to buy a house now? I am. I always get excited when I see these graphs.
Everybody raise your hands.
Everybody needs to raise their hand.
Yeah, especially for the younger generation. Again, I feel like uh, a lot of young individuals that have the advantage to, like Andres, to take advantage of these opportunities, don't know really the value out there. Unfortunately, instead, many of them will go out and buy, brand new cars, brand new, $80,000 trucks or whatever. And again, if you can do it, great. And if you already have let's say your home, but if you have somebody that that is young and wants to, tap into this, like myself or Andres, have them connect with us. We'll definitely help them get on track and be a young homeowner as well.
Yeah. If you guys have any sobrinos or, nephews, nieces that have been contemplating maybe purchasing a home or maybe you're scared, get them in contact with us and we could provide them, a Gen Z perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because honestly, a lot of people just don't know this information and they don't see the opportunity and they also disqualify themselves. The number one thing that you should not do is disqualify yourself. We see it all the time. We've met up with multiple clients where they think they're not going to qualify, that they don't have the means to purchase. And then 1 month, 2 months later, they're already closing and I'm handing them the keys. This year, I've already sold 3 houses to 20-year-olds.
Sold one to a 19-year-old.
People are buying and they're buying young. So what does that tell you? I mean, even if you're older, it's never too late because as you can see, the graph is always going to go up. So it's going to never be too late. And you're always going to think, okay, I should have bought 5 years ago. Well, what happens if 5 years pass? Do you think you're going to be saying the same thing if you didn't purchase? More than likely, right? So yeah, I just appreciate you guys' time once again. My name is Andres Gonzalez. So what's that?
People that want to do business or join the real estate.
Oh yeah, and if you also know anybody who's interested in joining the team or just getting their real estate license in general, I'll be more than happy to give them a perspective. I got my license right when I turned 18, and I've been blessed ever since. So if you guys know anybody, we could definitely help them out. And there you go, we got one person right here.
Yeah.
Let's get them rolling.
Having the right resources and guidance honestly is life-changing because I joined the team roughly about a year ago, I would say, like full time. So and then just being around, Raul, Juan, Andres has really helped me scale everything. So if you guys have, like Andres said, nephews, sons, daughters that are wanting to, get into the industry young, from my perspective, I encourage them to.
And we're not just solely preaching this, right? Preaching the real estate market and why it's good to buy. We're also inside of it. Juan mentioned I own 2 homes. One of them is rented and one is the one I'm living in. So it's definitely possible, guys. All you got to do is just, take action on what you can. And even if you can't buy right now, we can set you up on a plan. So then let's say, for example, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, even a year from now, you'll be able to make that happen. All right?
All right.
Thank you.
One more round of applause for these fine young gentlemen. We're actually probando. 1, 2, 3, we're back. TikTok live, everybody. Go ahead and have a seat. Go ahead and have a seat. Go ahead and have a seat. Everybody, please go ahead and have a seat. ¿Le puedes subir poquito? Everybody, go ahead and please have a seat. Have a seat, everybody. Have a seat, please, everybody. ¿Qué pasa aquí? ¿Qué pasó aquí? A ver. Pila. Okay. Okay, have a seat, everybody, please. Go ahead and join us here to continue the rest of our seminar. Thank you very much for your attention, everybody. All right, guys. Please have a seat. Se acabó la break. We're gonna do a little icebreaker here with Mr. Sergio Rodriguez from Rate. We're gonna introduce him too. You did basically talk to us about what you do, what Rate is all about, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Feel free. Let us know what you want to say.
All right. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this wonderful event. I'm very, very passionate about the wealth side of real estate. And the reason why is because that was my mindset from the first home that I bought. And I want to use that personal story to tell you, right, that I have the experience. I have the experience because I did it. Not only have I done it for a lot of people on the professional side with loan products, but I've done it on the personal side through the use of many products. And, you know, we can talk about that. So I've done lending for 30 years. So I've seen the graph, right? I purchased almost in, not say every market, but a lot of markets. I've seen dips, things that in the beginning I wasn't even aware of were even happening, right? But I've seen others that I was aware of what was happening and why it was happening, right? So sometimes just, you know, seeing it all gives you the experience. So with Ray, I'll tell you the company that I work for, I've done this for 30 years with different companies, but the last 5 with Ray. And I'll tell you, and I'll give you examples of what Rate is. So Rate is the second most prolific originating company in the country. We do the second most loans in the country. With the special, the first, you know, the number one company is Rocket, right? Rocket, and we're talking about retail lenders, but Rocket, they focus on refinances. A lot of their bread and butter is refinancing. With Rate, the difference between both of them, both highly technological companies, but with Rate, what you get is a very, very, very keen focus on purchase. We know what always gives, and what always gives is purchase, and we saw that. People in the 80s, they were buying. I actually did a loan for a lady that was real estate. She was a realtor and a lender in Hawaii to purchase and sold and bought homes in the 80s. And what did she tell me? She bought at 18%. And then every like 1 or 2% that it went down, they refinanced they refinanced a bunch of people all the way down to what you saw on the graph.
Wow.
Right. So again, what does that mean with this doing the second most loans with a very keen focus on purchase? Is the fact that we have a lot of intel, right? We have an infrastructure, right? An operations staff, underwriters that have seen. The more scenarios you see, the more experience you have, right? And I like to use an analogy. What is a loan officer? To me, it's an example of you're getting on an airplane, right? And the loan officer is your pilot. And his job is to get the plane to the other side, which is to get you the financing to purchase your owner-occupied or your invested home, right? As we know, I don't say on every flight there's turbulence, right? But who has the experience to navigate, right, through turbulence? Right? And again, the more scenarios you see, the more we have experience with that turbulence, right? And again, I like to use that as an example because I think it fits. So
it's no coincidence that we pick Sergio and Ricardo and many other people that are in our circle. Whoever we bring to you, it's no joke. Like, these people will take you through the turbulence and they will manage you through this process to be able to make sure it's a smooth process. And we love them for that, and we appreciate that for that.
And a lot of it is, before that plane takes off, we want to make sure it's mechanically sound, right? Make sure that we know the guidelines, we structure the deals the correct way, right? The second piece is being the second most prolific originating company, right? We are number one in non-QM in the country, right? Number one. What is non-QM, non-qualified mortgages? Those are mortgages for the investors, right? A lot of investors, right? We do loans with bank statements We do loans with profit and losses. We can do loans with nothing, right? Just assets, asset depletion loans, every single type of scenario imaginable in that non-qualified mortgage space, right? Fix and flips. There's a lot of loans that fit into that category, right? So we're number one. We originate more loans than anybody in the country. Again, not to say, oh, wow, that company's great. The more loans you do, the more experiences you have, the more intel you have, and the more you can take care of difficult scenarios. Or easy, you can do it with your eyes closed, right? You can hire anybody, even the people on TikTok, right? They come out on TikTok, yeah, right? Those guys can do easy loans, right? But when the turbulence hits, right? Who can get you to the other side? Who can give you the solution and who can do that, right? So again, from that speaks, that you'll know about, rate. They have, I call it the Amazon of mortgage lending, right? You have a lot of products, right? And fast, right? So it's pretty similar, right? I use that example as well. But from the personal side, not only, do I have the experience of 30 years, the personal experience coming from the wealth perspective, right? My first home, I was young, early 20s, maybe a little older than some of these guys over here, like 23, right? And my aunt came to me for guidance. She had a nice home with orchards in the back in California. And she said, Sergio, I have this great idea, right? That we're kind of the economy. She didn't say economy, she just says job. We're having, like, they were probably experiencing some type of downturn, which I wasn't even aware of back then, right? Probably 95, we can pull up the graph and see it. So, she had this great idea of partnering up with 3 of her brother-in-laws to buy a 4-plex in California. They were going to buy it so that each one occupies each one, right? And their payment was going to be like $400 each. So she came to me and she said, that's what I want to do. My $900 payment on a 1,200 square foot home, today it's worth $700,000 in California. She said, it's just too much. $900, I'm scared. I'm just going to go and pay $400. I said, I don't think that's a very good idea. What good? You're going to go occupy a 4-unit property with 3 of your brother-in-laws. That's a really, really bad idea. So she went away and said, hey, you know what? She went away. And then later I found out she had another ingenious idea. And I love my aunt. And, at that time she didn't consult. She's like, I just sold my house to somebody at work for $10,000. So, she owed about $135,000 on the house. They gave me $10,000. I said, well, what did they do? Did they finance it? What did they do? They're like, oh no, they're just gonna pay my mortgage, right? Did like a wraparound, right? And she gave her $10,000. Well, I don't think that was a good idea either, but he did it. So then that was that. So she comes to me a couple weeks later and says, you know what, Sergio? The lady, she's scared. She's scared of the market. He wants her money back. And I don't have it anymore because I put it into the 4-unit and we did this and this and I have it. I don't have it. He's like, what can I do? I said, look, I didn't want to take, because he was trying to sell me the house in the beginning. And I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. I said, but now that you've tried to get rid of this house and you gave it to somebody else, a stranger, I said, look, I'll buy the house from you. And at that time, I didn't have any money. But I said, look, if you add me on title, right? Add me on title, I'll get you the money, give me a month. So what I did is I consulted with a company, Green Tree Financial back then. And I said, hey, if I get on title, how quick after that could I get money? And how much would you give me? They're like, well, we'll give you 15 grand. I said, okay. So I told my aunt, let's do this. Put me on title, got the loan through Green Tea, give her 10 grand. I got 5,000, fixed the house and moved it. That was my first owner occupied. From the investment part of it, again, using leverage, zero out of my pocket, right? And I didn't even know it at the time because there's loans today that work that way, right? They work that way. They're called down payment assistance, right? They give you like a silent second. You come in with zero and bada 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 bing, right? So that was it, right? That was my first home. You had a question?
Your rent's original mortgage stayed on, but yours was kind of like second on it.
Yeah. Mine was the second, and then I refinanced it. I came back and refinanced both into one, and then everything was in my name. And it was $900, right? And at the time, there was people saying, "Oh no, you know what? I don't want to buy a house at $900 a month." I mean, this is not like West LA or anything big, right? It was a pretty decent neighborhood. It wasn't like, it wasn't the ghetto, right? But it was a pretty good neighborhood. But $900, a lot of people didn't want to buy because their rent was $600. Oh no, I'm good, right? That house is worth $700,000 today. And I watched, because I've done, I did business in California for a long time, and I watched those payments just go boom, 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 rent go boom, 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 boom. A lot of people got priced out, right? Because they were comfortable with their payment, right? With Mike, I had a conversation before I came up here, right? And he talked about like buying a home, even if you're like $300, right? You have to put $300 out of your pocket, which people that were renting at $600, yeah, they probably had to pay another extra $300. Don't buy the big car, right? And you can take that $300 and, later they watch that rent go all the way to today, probably like $4,000 a month or something for that house. So, that's what you're seeing here in Arizona, right? We've seen that movie before. It's called California, New York, Chicago, right? So this is happening here. Money is flooding in from every state, not just California, but every single state and international. What happens with all that money comes in? Nothing good for prices, right? Most probably the prices are going to go up, right? So I've done that type of loan. I partner up with another buddy of mine. We bought a 3-unit property in California a couple years later, right? That was a great investment. And I bought 2 or 3 other homes that I sold before the market crash here in California. Came here to Arizona. I bought 2 here in Goodyear, and I thought it was a lie. I drove here, 2002, and it said 125 grand on the freeway. Told my brother, I said, it's bullshit. I think it's false advertisement. How could you buy a brand new home for $125 in Goodyear? Well, let's find out. My sister-in-law, my wife's cousin is a realtor in Goodyear. Called her. He goes, "No, sir, it's not bullshit." Okay, I came here, and then she's like, "Okay, I'll show you the house." I said, "I'll buy 2." I purchased 2 houses in 2002 in Goodyear, 125 each. They were twins, same house as an investment. Then I came here. I came here for employment, right? And so basically, I've done that. I bought another 4-unit property in Chandler, 4-unit property at a really good deal. And then I bought another one on Jackrabbit a couple of years ago, and you saw those rates high, right? And from the investment side, the higher the interest rate, the better deal. Why? Because your competition is eliminated. What happens when your competition gets eliminated? Because they can't qualify because of the higher rates, or they're scared. Either way, they get eliminated. So when you eliminate your competition, you're probably going to get a better deal from the investment part, right? Now, when things get better, you refinance it, right? But again, those are just some of the things that I've done. I bought land in Waddell. I had to call the owner. Like literally the guy says, "Look, I'll tell you the best piece of land in Sonora Ridge Estates. I'll tell you what the best piece of land is. And it's your job. It's not listed for sale, and he doesn't want to sell it. It was a custom builder." He goes, "I'll give you his name. I'll give you his phone number. And if you can convince him to sell you the land, it's yours." And we called him, and we convinced him. He didn't want to sell it. He's from Wyoming. And we got a nice, piece of land that it's $145,000 that I purchased it for. And I got an offer for $300 cash that I turned down, right? Because it's an acre backed up to the mountain. Well, not the mountain, but state land. They can't build behind me. Really nice view, right? But so from the investment part of it, from the wealth part of it, right? I have experience not only professionally, but on the personal side, right? And one thing that I focus on, and I help my customers secure loans, but what I focus on is the deal is made before the deal. Whether it's anything that you do, you got to run the numbers. You got to look at the numbers, right? This real estate group is awesome, right? They know how to do that, right? The deal is made before, not after. Because we've also watched other people like, hey, I bought this land and they can't put utilities and they can't do all this other stuff. They didn't do their homework, right? There was no homework done and they got in trouble, right? They just did it on a whim and they got excited and they did it, right? Or they get into these loans that I have to get them out of, right? Because they don't know, right? The deals are made before. We got to study everything before. We got to run all the numbers. The numbers will tell the story, right? And that's our job. Our job is not to say deal is good or bad. We'll give you that opinion, but it's more to give you the information, give you the numbers, right? Because from the information, that's how action happens, right? Action happens when you get the information and then you're like, create that mindset. You create that view.
Preparation is king. It's key. So you guys, any of you believe in luck? Well, we're in the right room. So luck is actually just preparation meets opportunity. So we always preach, give us a call, figure it out. Let's talk about it. You're 6 months out, I don't care. You're 3 years out, I don't care. Let's get on that track, right?
And the deal is made before. You know, I've done loans. I've done this for 30 years. I've done loans for Fox Sports producers, right? I've done a loan for Oscar De La Hoya's personal chef, his executive chef. And I had a multimillionaire that would call me for any type of loan for himself or any of his family in York, Pennsylvania, right? Those have been some of my clients over the 30 years. This guy had 33 cars, Olympic-sized swimming pool, and in the state of New York. Right? And for me, I didn't even know it at the time. I was younger. I was like, now that I look at it, I'm like, wow. Well, but you know, that's the kind of experience that you need, right, to get to the promised land, which is to get your loan funded so you can buy your investment. Okay?
Thank you, Sergio.
That's it.
That right there, guys, Sergio Rodriguez, lender to the stars. That's what we bring to you guys. And yeah, definitely. Hang out right now. We're going to have some food. There's going to be some contact information for everybody. And with that, talking about, come on up, Paul. Talking about Sergio's, round of applause for Paul. He's going to, building your dream home. So talking about that, Sergio bought a piece of land in the key spot with the key features. And now if you guys want to do the same, right, hit us up. We'll get Paul involved. Right, Paul? Yep. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself here. You have a mic?
No,
hold on.
you're going to have to, Mike. So
Sorry. Mike?
I'll get this one first.
And Paul is kind of shy about speaking English.
All right. He's on.
See? Okay, so I'm gonna do the class in Spanish because there's people, they're looking live from Mexico and California. So Juan's gonna translate it for me.
So, Paul,
Yeah.
who es Paul?
Paul. So, mi nombre es Paul Navarro y tengo 18 años trabajando en construcción. Empecé en mi casa. No sabía nada de construcción en ese tiempo. Mi esposa quería un baño, remodelar un baño. Le hablé a un amigo, $13,000 por un bañito de 5x8.
All right, let me translate this because it's going to be long. So, Paul started construction about 18 years ago, and he started by working on, what's that? Hold on. So, anyways, he started 18 years ago, and he started doing that because his wife wanted a bathroom, to remodel a bathroom, and it was like $13,000. Like, that's a lot of money, right?
So, empecé a ver cómo se hacían las cosas. Hablé con amigos, me dijeron, vamos a hacer la plomería, vamos a quebrar, demolición. Fue algo que me gustó.
He started doing, working with some friends and talking about how he's going to do all the work. So they started demolishing the plumbing and looking into the work.
Y al final terminamos el baño. Mi esposa cumplió años, llegaron sus amigas. De ahí valió todo. ¿Por qué? Porque ¿quién te hizo el baño? No, pues mi esposo. Ah, okay.
So from there, like it was his wife's birthday, and all the friends came over to take a look at the house. Well, they came over for the birthday, and then they saw the bathroom, like, oh my gosh, who did this for you? And everything started from there.
Sí. Entonces ya llegó una muchacha, me dice, oye, quiero que me hagas mi baño. Dije, ah, el primero, okay.
So one of her friends came over and says, I want you to do one of my bathrooms.
Entonces empecé a hacer ese baño, me salió el vecino, salió otro cliente, y de ahí empecé a premiar, electricidad, plomería, piso, pues hacer ya de todo, y ya me quedé en el rango de la construcción.
So from there, I started doing electricity, plumbing, and pretty much everything in construction. And that's where I got stuck with. I enjoyed it.
So ahorita les voy a dar un poquito yo sé que aquí hay gente que quiere ver cómo poder hacer una casa para ellos o para poder vender. Entonces se pierden el por qué no compro, porque no sé cuál es el primer paso, qué es lo que tengo que hacer. Entonces ahorita les voy a explicar un poquito de cómo se puede empezar.
So for those of you that are here trying to learn how to start into developing and building your home, which we have a couple here that did that already and they're working on almost finishing up their home. I know, Fernando, you built your home already too. You know the process. So Paul is going to guide us through the process as to what are the steps to buy the land, and which we help you with, and then build your property.
Sí. Bueno, nosotros estamos trabajando con ellos, pero antes de esto, sí es muy importante primero ver qué proceso es lo que quieren, qué es lo que quieren hacer. Si es para una casa para ustedes o si es casa para poder vender. Porque aquí ya vamos a ver el terreno. Entonces una de las cosas importantes es hablar con Juan y su equipo, ver si viene siendo un acre, si tiene agua y tiene electricidad. Por muy barato que esté, necesitamos ver, porque a lo mejor a largo plazo te cuesta más dinero.
So one of the things that are super important, and I'm going to kind of just paraphrase what he said, is knowing where to buy, because you can buy cheap land, but good ain't cheap and cheap ain't good, and it's cheap for a reason. So the first thing is you want to make sure you buy the right property in the right location, because if you don't, you're going to be in deep doo-doo and very surprised.
So esto es parte de Juan.
This is part of mine. But the other thing is like making sure that there's water, electricity, and all that. And again, we'll cover all that here.
Entonces, si quieren llamar con Juan, hablarme a mí, podemos ver el terreno y ya les podemos dar una guía de ahí si es conveniente comprarlo o no.
Yeah, because not every property, there's property out there in Whitman where it's by the flight zone. And yes, it's beautiful. And yes, it's cheap, but you cannot build a home. Yeah, right? So, and it looks like there's like, well, but there's neighbors. Yeah, but that property in particular, you can't build on it. So you can be in a surprise.
So, con ellos estamos trabajando, es una arquitecta. Ella saca todos los permisos. Nos mandamos muchos emails. Ahorita estamos haciendo unas casas con Juan, 4 casas.
Yeah, so this is the, not sure if they're architects, but they do the work. They do, some of them are drafters, and they are working on plans. We're building 3 homes right now. We bought 3 pieces of land, and we're going to start developing here shortly. We're working on the plans right now. So we're working with them, and so far they've been good to us.
Yeah. Y es bueno como dueños. Yo sé que en su mente tienen algo que quieren en su casa, pero es bueno hablarlo con el que les vaya a hacer la casa, que en este caso va a ser yo, ¿verdad? Y ahí podemos modificar lo que sé, como ahorita en el plano de nosotros nos habían puesto ventanas chicas, entonces una casa para vender, unas ventanas grandes, un sliding door un poco más grande. ¿Por qué? Porque le vas a sacar más a largo plazo.
So one of the things that we didn't know about, like for example for myself, is like all the little details. I can look at a plan and my eyes go like this. Like I didn't used to be able to read them. Now I can see them. My wife is amazing with that. So, and then my daughters, they have a beautiful eye for that. But it's good to have someone next to you that can tell you if you do these things, they're not that expensive, and they'll make your house pop, right? I've noticed some homes that were built, luxury homes down the street from where we live, and sadly those windows are like, they're cheap. And it doesn't look like a luxury home that would have the nice view windows, you know what I mean? So having someone next to you that can guide you in the process when it comes to those little details and say, hey, instead of a 2x6, if we're gonna sell it, maybe make it 2x4, like all these things that we don't think about, that he can see, you know, it's a great team to have together, right? From buying the land, then having the architects, then putting it together, it's super important. All right, so that's the company you work with.
So, APS es la compañía que más cubre lo que es el área de Phoenix. Está SRP, pero casi siempre se trabaja más con APS. Entonces, ahí, ¿qué es el proceso? Dependiendo, si quieren comprar una casa, quieren hacer una casa para vender, entonces, entre más rápido, porque hay gente que tiene el cash o hay gente que va a pedir prestado con intereses.
So APS is one of the biggest companies for electricity around here. So having that in check is good. Some people are going to buy with cash and some are invest in cash, or they're going to get financing. So it's important to make sure that the electricity is there, right, Angel? It could cost you money, especially if you get a private loan and you're waiting for something to happen and every month it's eating up your profit. So all these little details that most people don't think about, having the right person next to you is going to make a big difference.
Entonces, aquí con APS, yo soy de las personas que mi trabajo me lo tomo muy en serio. O sea, voy a hacer muchas preguntas, yo quiero saber, porque toda la gente a veces dice, yo sé, pero siempre hay algo nuevo cada día. Con APS, si quieres hacer una casa para vender rápido, se tardan hasta 5 a 8 semanas para que te puedan aprobar el plano, si es que no hay electricidad, si es que van a poner un poste. Entonces, que ya puedes hacer el proceso con $2,500, los das adelantados. Ahora, si el poste es más de 425 pies de distancia, es gratis. De 425 para abajo es gratis. Pero cada pie que pasa después de ahí te van a cobrar $23. Entonces, digamos, ese poste lo ponen a 400 pies, te quedaron 25 pies todavía restantes que no te van a cobrar. Pero los 2,500 es para que tú puedas apresurar el proceso de que te pongan el poste a tiempo.
So APS takes time to get you the permit. So once you submit for a permit, it's going to take 5 to 6 weeks. You can get ahead by paying $2,500, and they cover 425 feet of distance. If it's longer than that, you're going to have to pay.
$23.
So knowing all these things, how much?
Yeah, $23 per feet.
Per foot.
Yeah.
So he's going to ask a lot of questions. He wants to make sure that he has got all the info so that he can provide you with the best plan of action, right? Because that's important. Like, you want to get set up for success and not just go and jump on it and be like, oh crap, now I bought a piece of land that is not in a good location. I have to put in water, electricity, and all that, and it's going to cost me more than I thought. And my dreams of selling it for so much is not going to be happening.
So van a estar pagando interés. Si puedes terminar la casa, pero si no hay electricidad, no te va a pasar el final.
Yep.
Entonces, lo que queremos es apresurar. Los 2,500 se ponen. Ya sabemos que si no te pasas, se te regresan para atrás, pero el proceso está más adelantado.
So you want to get ahead by paying for the fee and just get the process started so you can get, when you start building and you're about to finish, the last thing you want to have is you're finished with the project and there's no electricity and now you're paying your mortgage because of the money borrowed to build a home and you can't finish it because there's no electricity. And there's the final product is the certificate of occupancy and they won't allow you to have it unless you have the house.
Yeah.
100%.
Esta es una de las casas que trabajé en San Francisco.
He built this home in San Francisco.
Me tocó hacer todo lo que era el estaco,
He did all the
tile
tile.
y todo el drywall.
Those are videos when you were working on it and this is the final
Esa es la final, sí. Esa-
Ignore her. If you guys want to sell your property in California, call us. And this is the house inside. It's a YouTube video.
Yeah. En Woolwich está a 15 minutos del puente.
I think the internet's kind of slow. Well, anyways, it's a pretty beautiful house.
La querían vender en 25 millones, o ya después se pasó el COVID y creo que la pusieron al mercado en 17.5.
This house was sold for like $17.5 million. We'll send you the link for this video. I have it. When we send the thank you for coming, we'll send it in there. It's stuck. This is what it looks like. Good job. That was good.
Ese también, ese me tocó ser parte, creo que no pusieron. Yo mi trabajo cuando empecé era tile. Empecé con el baño que quería. Entonces empecé a tile y me tocó hacerlo con un primo.
So when he started doing this kind of work, he was doing tile, and he did this with his cousin. You know what? At the beginning, I couldn't tell what it is. Is this a bench?
That's a bench.
Again, my mind doesn't work like all of you. I'm not an engineer. Do it in English,
sea en inglés.
and then we can translate it.
Somebody has like a project in mind, for instance, let's say they want to build, and obviously there's a lot of parties involved, right? From electrical, plumbing, drywall, framing, everything. Like, what am I looking at? Like, when I reach out to somebody, like for instance yourself, like, are all those parties already involved? Do I have to contact somebody independently for that, or?
No, aquí se podría trabajar.
Let me
con-
repeat. So the question is, when somebody's going to build a home, is everybody already? Do we have to contact everybody individually, or how does it work?
Sí, no, conmigo, haz de cuenta que yo ya tengo la gente con la que vamos a trabajar. Se podría hacer, o tú como dueño, pues realmente lo tuyo es vender casas. La construcción pues ya es parte de nosotros. Pero siempre es muy importante, como te decía, el paso primero es ver los planos. Entonces, de los planos ya podemos nosotros guiarnos y decirte qué es lo que podemos hacer, pero la gente la tenemos nosotros.
I have everybody to do the work, and actually I can be a test of that. He's remodeling one of my. It's going to be a flip over in Phoenix. The house needed everything. Like we had to. It was covered in termites. It needed new plumbing, so we did new lines, plumbing, electrical. And honestly, the pricing that I got was completely different than I would have gotten otherwise with another company. So, thank you for that. Preguntaba, obviamente, de que si eran en todo el equipo, si que tenían que contratar a gente diferente. Y básicamente, pues tienen a todo. Yo puedo ser testigo de que
Sí.
me acaba de remodelar una casa. Y esa es una de muchas que me has trabajado. So.
Sí, pues ahorita la estamos trabajando.
O de la otra,
Cualquier casa que cierra, si ocupa algo, ahí estamos siempre a puntuales, es una de las cosas. Bueno, yo,
So what she's asking is if it's better to buy a home that is already built or build your own home. It depends on what situation you're at. Depende de la situación en la que estés. If you're going to put down no money down and get into a home, I say go that route. Because to me, it's like, how can I get more without as least amount of money possible? If you have extra money that you make out of your sale, because I know your situation, you can use that to buy a lot, build a home with money borrowed. And then you can start building wealth like this.
Sí.
¿Lo quieres traducir en español?
Sí. Pues es que aquí se podría hacer un tipo conflicto porque él vende casas y yo hago casas. Entonces, por eso me adelantó. Pero no, es bueno comprar, les voy a explicar, es bueno tener casas, ya sea de rentas. ¿Por qué? Porque cuando vas a empezar a fincar una casa, a construir, te dan dinero para atrás a la hora de que te van a cobrar taxis. Entonces sí es bueno comprar casas, pero también quieres ganar un poco más rápido dinero, pues construir es donde te puedes ir. Yo ahorita estoy construyendo una casa de 3,000 pies, son 2,190 vivibles, más los patios y el garage. Y a mí esa casa me va a costar 260 hacerla. El lacre, dependiendo qué es lo que quieres.
Ahí es lo importante lo que decía Paul.
Sí, ¿qué tanto le quieres ganar a una casa? Si te vas, digamos, el 10 hacia el sur, los terrenos son un poco más baratos. No tan baratos, pero es más barato que el norte. Entonces, la casa esta que tenemos nosotros, el lote nos costó 113,000, creo que pagamos. Entonces, si le suma, ahí a lo mejor la vamos a poner el mercado como en 580. Entonces, una casa de esas, tal vez, dependiendo, ya teniendo los planos, en 3 meses tal vez podemos terminar, 3 meses y medio. Entonces sí es buen negocio. ¿Por qué? Porque va también de ese dinero agréguele que es buen negocio.
Depende de la situación.
¿Qué es lo que quiera? A lo mejor ya tiene 1 o 2 casas, no sé. Pero sí, o sea, ganar dinero fácil, se puede decir, está un poquito más.
Hay que tener cuidado con fácil porque puede que...
Sí, o sea, dependiendo que vendas. O sea, también se tiene que vender.
No, yeah, so basically what he's saying is that it depends on where you're at. And obviously I sell homes, so I'm going to tell you to buy a house. But the reason I say that is that if... Right.
Yeah, or buy a lot.
No, but again, it depends on their situation. For example, she wants a different home, right? A different type of home. She needs a different house. That's why I said that. So you can buy the home that you want and then use the money from the equity to invest and buy the lot and then you can build on it. So it's an individual situation. If she had a home that she's happy with, go buy a lot and build a house to make money. So it's different. That's why you want to sit down with us and go over your strategy to, in reality, see what's going to happen or what's the best avenue. And like Paul says, just get the plans, find out what you want to do, what's your goal, and then he'll tell you, you know what, based on what we can sell it for, this is the potential that you can make. So, but it is more profitable to build and to sell. Go ahead.
También decirle a la gente, o sea, piensan que nada más es construir y no es tan fácil. O sea, en la construcción salen muchas cosas y son dolores de cabeza que a veces dices, mejor compraría o construir.
Sí.
Entonces son muchos factores que tienen que ver también. O sea, sí se oye bien que vas a ganar dinero, pero salen muchas cosas cuando estás construyendo.
Y tienes que tener el intestino para digerir todo eso. So you have to, as you build, things can go wrong and things can change and things can happen, right, Angel? So there's many situations that can go right or wrong, and sometimes you end up in places where you think you're going to make money, and sometimes you break even or you lose money. So it's an investment, and anything that you guys do, there's a risk. So all these cool stories that we tell you, there's some ugly stories that happen too, right? So, and we're going to tell you those too. As so far, we haven't had any crazy stories, but we had an instance where the electricity wasn't there, and the profit was eaten up every single month by paying the mortgage. So it's important to have the right people in place, because yes, as you can be profitable and make money, it could also cost you money. So.
Well, see, I think the original question was how you can structure buying the land. So
Okay.
the outside looking at it. So let's say you purchase your land, you own it. You can do a builder, like GC, go ahead and hire a black sheep. They know all the stuff. Or you can do owner builder. The problem with doing owner builder is like the scenarios. What surprises are you going to get? Do you know the APS routes? Do you have connections to buying materials at a discounted rate? So you could be like, yes, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And you just priced yourself for a house that maybe would have costed $350 to build or $250 to build. You probably priced yourself at $500 for not understanding permits, not understanding building costs, not understanding that the electrician might have went out of business. So now you got to go ahead and pay another electrician to go do all that stuff. So there's a lot of learning curves, and sometimes having to structure the easier route to secure your money at the end and not risk it, you know, because you can be like, yeah, you know what, I'll go ahead and hire a concrete guy, a plumber, an electrician, a framer, roofer, tile guy, painter, landscape guy. I mean, you keep on adding that up, and you're going to walk up and you're like, yeah, it looks beautiful. It's painted. But you're not going to notice all the stuff or all the defects. And having a professional or a professional that could structure the deal, help you out, might make it easier for you in the long run.
I think it's a contract.
How can people do that, right? If you don't own the lot, you can purchase the lot, right? You can purchase the lot and finance the construction. There's loans like that, right? There's different types. There's traditional one-time loans where you can do that. You're gonna need roughly about 10% down if you own or occupy it. That's the key. If you own or occupy it, there's some loans at 5%, very rare, but mostly 10. Of course, if you own the lot, if you already own the lot without owing any money on it, then it's easier because they can take the lot as part of the down payment, and it becomes an easier deal.
And then you don't need any money down.
Yeah, there's the one-time construction loans, right? There's also the fix and flips, right? The ones that I talked about, non-traditional, more for investors, right? That say, look, I want to do this. That's also possible, but then there's a formula that's done. Again, this is after, right? Information is first, but there's a formula that's used, they calculate it based on the completed value at the end. And then there's money that you can bring in if you own the lot, again, easier.
Right.
So there's owner-occupied construction loans, and there's also investment construction.
100%. Voy a traducir todo eso. Primero es tener un equipo correcto para que te construya, para que no tengas que contratar a todos individualmente, porque ¿quién aquí ha hecho cosas individualmente y con contratistas? ¿Has batallado? No llegan, no van, te quedan mal, se desaparecen. Tengo una señora que le está arreglando en la casa. ¿Cuánto dio de enganche?
$35,000.
35,000 le dio el contratista y se peló. Entonces, la razón por la que hacemos esto es para que tengan recursos. Todo el equipo aquí está. No ocupan ni a ningún otro lado. Desde el préstamo para comprar el lote hasta comprar conseguirles el préstamo para construir. Si ya está pagado el lote, como decía Sergio, una vez está pagado el lote se puede usar como enganche. Hay muchos detalles, hay muchos contratistas, como lo mencionaba. Entonces, para no estar ustedes haciéndose bolas con todo eso, aquí en esta parada solamente nos encargamos de todo. Conseguirle el lote, conseguir los permisos, conseguirle los planos, hacer la construcción y por ende, si van a vender su casa, venderla, si la van a vivir en ella o rentarla, les ayudamos con todo para que no se compliquen. Entonces, lo que queremos sacar de esto es eso, de que no tiene que buscar a alguien que le haga cada cosa, sino que aquí está todo y el precio es asequible. Y ya para eso nos sentamos si quieren a platicar aparte para que les demos detalles, porque cada proyecto va a ser diferente. Desde el tipo de construcción, terminado y eso. Así es que ahí le dejo esto.
Sí, ya nomás para contestarte, Jesse. Yo pienso que cada contratista tiene en su mente qué es hasta dónde llegar. ¿Sí me explico? Entonces es bien importante yo sé que entre parejas decimos, vamos a hacer esta casa, me gustaría hacerla así, vamos a meterle una ventana, pero ahí es donde yo le digo, o sea, podemos entrar nosotros como construcción y ya decirte, ¿sabes qué? Mira, aquí va a haber un problema, yo sé que te gusta, pero le podemos agregar esto. ¿Para qué? Para facilita la electricidad, el aire acondicionado. Vamos a quitar esto. Por eso es importante llevar al contratista. O sea, si el contratista desde el momento no quiere saber nada de planos, entonces él no es el correcto. Y ahí me encanta a mí yo lo que hago. Entonces, ahí vamos a estar echando la mano.
Okay. So he says that it's important to have the right person that's going to do the job because when you're building a home, it's your home, right? You're going to determine what you want on it and what you don't. And if somebody that knows what he's doing is going to tell you the reason we can't do this here is because of this, right? I mean, I'm sure they can do anything and pretty much build the house however you want it, but down the road you're going to have issues, and you don't want that, right? But it's good to have people with experience to make sure that when you're building something, it's going to make sense for you, not just now, but in the future as well. All right.
¿Otra pregunta? No.
Questions? All right.
Bueno.
Go.
Very importantly, Paul was the contractor that helped us fix our bathroom as well. The one that has to be the back. But it's very important that when you hire somebody like he's an honest person, hire the contractor that's honest and straightforward. It's very important.
Okay.
The communication between the customer and the contractor with the customer is very important.
Okay.
Gracias.
Okay, gracias. Thank you. Dice que es importante el contratista que vas a trabajar para que tengan la comunicación de ellos hacia ti, de ti hacia ellos, para que haya honestidad, ¿no? Y todo salga bien. Porque creo que en todo es como lo que hacemos nosotros. Le digo a la gente cuando vamos a sentarnos a platicar, sabe que esto es como una relación. Si no nos llevamos bien, ¿para qué estamos juntos? ¿Verdad? Entonces es bonito poder tener un negocio y un trabajo con gente que haces click, ¿no? Y la mayoría de ustedes han trabajado con nosotros o van a trabajar con nosotros y pues les agradecemos por la confianza, ¿no?
Entonces, aquí lo que se trata no nomás es que digan, yo soy el contratista, Juan vende las casas. Aquí lo que estamos haciendo es hacer un grupo que si llega el cliente, nos vamos a involucrar el cliente, Juan y yo. ¿Por qué? Porque si hay un terreno que no tiene electricidad, no tiene agua, entonces ahí podemos buscar otras opciones o ya podemos ver los permisos para hacer pues un well para tener agua o la electricidad. Podemos ver otro que a lo mejor ya tiene todos los servicios, te cuesta poquito más caro, pero ya no le vamos a meter, ya no le vamos a batallar tanto.
So here's important to know that working with us, basically you're going to have the peace of mind that when you look for a lot or a property, it's going to be the right property. Because if you buy a property that is cheap, but it doesn't have the services, and then if you do the math and then there's another lot pretty close to it or similar in value, depending on what your goal is, that's why it's important to know your goal. You know up front what's it going to cost you. Is that cheaper lot cheaper because you're going to have to invest way more than you would have paid otherwise for the lot next door, which is a little higher, but it has all the services. And, you know, you can sell it for more. Location matters, guys. Location, I know you're going through that right now. If you buy a lot, let me just give you guys this. I use this example a lot, and please don't kill me because I'm pretty blunt, straightforward. I'd rather hurt your feelings and let you know the truth than tell you something you want to hear and not be the truth. when you buy a property, it could be a castle, but if it's in the swamp, it's still the swamp. When you buy a property that is in a good location, but it's an ugly house, I buy that 1,000 times. Why? You're not going to change the swamp. So it's important that you buy a good location. There's a location right now where there's potential to make $1 million per house in a year or maybe a year and a half. Who here would want to make $1 million in a year or a year and a half? All right? Well, we have those options right now, and I'm telling people, I own 2 lots in that location. We're going to be building here shortly, but you can make that or more. There's a property listed for $6 million right now, another one listed at $5 million, one closed for $4.4 million. Angel knows who that is. And so there's opportunities, but people don't see it. And sometimes there's a book, it's called Acres of Diamonds. Have you read it? See, nodding your head. This guy was told that if he should go, he was a king, right? Or something big. And he said, you need to go out and find diamonds because that's you're going to grow your wealth. So the guy sells his land and goes and search for the diamonds. He goes all over the world looking for the diamonds. He loses all his money and he jumps off a cliff and kills himself. Well, the person who stayed at the property, who bought the property from him, one day he was farming the property and runs into a diamond. He didn't know what it was, so he went to the shed or one of the sheds, and he put it on the table. And then there was the monk that told this guy to go search for the diamonds. He's like, "Is the master back? Look at the diamond." And the guy's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "This is a diamond. Is he back?" He's like, "No, he's not here." "Where'd you find this?" "I was farming and I saw it." And this is a real story. That land was one of the biggest veins of diamonds ever found in history. So a lot of times we have the diamonds in our own land and we don't know about it. We're searching all over the place. But there's a lot of diamonds in here that people have no clue about, and we're sitting on them. And that's what the last thing I'm going to say about this. I don't know if you have any more. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sending. All right, let me turn it off, guys, for a second.
Every time this guy talks, there's diamonds just falling out of his mouth all day. And if you miss it, and there's always a book coming out of his mouth too, which is awesome, man. I'm so behind on all the books that he's recommended throughout the years. But Ricardo, come on up. Oh, no, it's on. Ricardo Bojorquez is another awesome team member. We call them team members too because basically
Around the office every day.
they make it happen. They make it happen for us. Ricardo, tell us a little bit about I got a couple questions.
Okay.
Definitely for you. Feel free.
Ricardo Bojorquez. I've been in lending for the last 13, 12 years, just about. I started with the big bang and then moved over to brokerage, which has definitely been the best move I've ever made. And, just starting off, I think it all comes down to the mindset, obviously, right? Always have the mindset of growing, investing the money in the right way, which is always, you can't go wrong with real estate, right? For everything ties up, like we're talking about, everything 30% of the wealth, the economy is built within real estate, right? So for me, the big focus is the two things. It's the cost of waiting and the cost of investing, right? I think it factors quite a bit to real estate. Not to sound like a broken record, but I feel like the cost of waiting goes back to, the rates. I feel like every conversation I have with every single client that we have in the office, every consultation, it starts off with, hey, I want to wait until the rates get better. But like what we've been saying since the start is that the more we wait for those rates to get lowered, it gets more expensive to buy that house, right? I can definitely let you know that for the current homeowners, the best time to buy was, yesterday. Why? Because they got the better price. They got the better terms. And the more we wait, the more expensive it gets. So waiting for the rate, for me, it doesn't make sense. because you are able to negotiate a better price, a better deal, get those closing costs paid for by the seller, not yourself. So that's a big savings. And it only makes sense because when people were buying on lower rate markets, you do have more competition and you have less negotiation at the end of the day. You get to pay over the appraised value. You don't get the closing cost help from the seller. So it's more money out of pocket and it's gonna cost you more than just investing maybe $200-300 per month on buying now versus waiting when the rates do get lowered. So for me, it just makes sense to buy now because it's gonna cost to wait. And the cost of investment, of course, it's all business at the end of the day. So there's no freebies, right? It's knowing the best way to invest your money in a smart way where you can basically see a savings, but also see a return, right? Yeah.
So just to kind of let you guys know the background why we have two lenders in one room, right? We always encourage our clients. At the end of the day, your deal is the most important thing in the room. So don't feel like you only have one option. You have to shop around. You have to figure it out. Sergio has awesome background, awesome products. They're a retail lender. Ricardo's a broker. So they have differences that are pros and cons that fit in to your need. How many people in the room own a home? 2 homes. 3, 4, 5. Oh. If I keep going, I know who's gonna win. but definitely, so Ricardo, for people who already have a home and want to purchase a home, what kind of products do they have?
So there's so many ways you can come about in growing your portfolio. If you currently own a home right now, the easy one, it's a given. Buy the next one as your new primary residence, leave your current one as your rental. That gives you the flexibility of the better terms, and that means a better down payment, a better rate, and a better savings overall. So departing the current residence, you can start off right there, do it properly where you are going to live in the current one in the new one that you're gonna buy, and start departing the one you have as your new rental. And then you can keep that cycle going as long as you do it correctly, where you acquire the property for you to live in there, and then depart the current ones as your new investment properties, and therefore you can grow that portfolio. All right.
Some people.
That's one of the ways.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off. So some people that have approached me, some clients are like, hey, they're watching the market. They're watching the market for a fix and flip, right? We don't preach fix and flips too much right now. But definitely that's one of the aspects of purchasing. Do they all need 20%? Do they need 25%? What do they need?
Not all the time. So if you are wanting to invest straight to that property, whether it's a fix or flip or literally an investment property for yourself, there is so many options. One being, if it's a straight investment, you can do it anywhere between a 20, 15, and 10% down, depending on your credit score, depending on the bank, because there is those flexible options. And if you are wanting to do like a fix and flip, there is loans dedicated for that specific need, but also utilize the equity that you might have on the current property. And your best friend could be your own equity sitting in your own home, doing nothing if you don't use it, to reinvest it and do fix and flips or acquire more properties for yourself.
There you have it, guys.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of things that you want to do. Make sure that you reach out to us. We can connect you with the right lender for your goal.
Yeah.
Right?
So if it's so many products out there, so depending on your need, there's always something that's going to be more suitable than the other. Whether it's a cash out refi, whether it's a home equity line of credit, whether it's a one-time construction loan, whether it's just straight up a new primary residence and just leaving the current one as a rental. So many ways to come about it. If you're wanting to invest in multi-unit properties, there's also investor loans that allow you to just put in your equity, put in the capital, as long as you have good credit, and the rent covers the mortgage payment. That's one of the easiest loans to qualify, and the personal income doesn't even matter. We won't even ask you for your personal income taxes, right? That's key for any investor, because we know as business owners, we love to write off stuff at the start of the year for taxes, and on paper we don't really profit for the banks, right? So one of the better ways to put yourself into growing your portfolio in real estate, which is an investment loan, a DSCR.
Well, thank you very much, Ricardo. Thank you very much for coming out with us.
Yeah.
Feel free to connect with any of these guys as soon as this is over. Right now, we have Andrew Moss. His story of becoming an investor is almost uncomparable to a lot of people currently.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's more diamonds to come, guys. Go ahead.
What's with the diamonds today? Thank you for that. My name's Andrew. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to Juan for, is that the clicker? Thank you. Thank you to Juan for inviting me. Make sure I got this right. I'm here today to just share my story. I'm not a real estate professional. Just a guy, private citizen, if you will. My career is completely different and has nothing to do with buying and selling homes, although that's what I have done a lot of over the past 2 decades. And I did this, I think, well, it was like 2 years ago or so, and a lot has changed in my story since then, so I'm looking forward to sharing. And I don't mind questions along the way, so stop me, interrupt me. I've got a lot of different experiences with many different types of properties, primarily rental homes. Over the past 3 years, I have a lot of new experiences with contractors and home renovation loans and new construction that I didn't previously have, so I'll be sharing that as well. So without any further ado, who am I? Like I said, my name's Andrew. This is us. That's my wife, Sonia. Our 2 children, Amelia and Andy, they are 5 and 3, respectively. I'm from Arizona. I was born in Mesa. Lived here my whole life, other than a brief hiatus in the Marine Corps. And I've been married for 19 years. We have 2 small kids. Yeah, that's about all there is about me, honestly. Not super interesting. Like I said, my career is in organizational leadership, specifically in higher education, and it's not in real estate. I'm not a broker or an agent. I never have been. I'm not a loan officer, although probably should be with all the loans I have. Where's Sergio at? I've Sergio jokes. They're coming. And over the past 20 years, I have bought 14 properties, sold 6 of them. I currently have 8 of them. Hopefully that'll be back up to 9 soon. At the height, the empire had 11 properties. Currently we have 8. It's part of the story. You guys will hear it. That was in 2023. Kind of getting the itch again. Need to start growing again. Similar to what was just said about purchasing and moving into the new home and leaving the old one as the rental, I've done that 8 times. It works. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it works. I think I'm done moving, but we'll see. We'll see. But that does work. A little tidbit there. Anyway, I've built modest yet substantial wealth through the last 20 years, and that is why I not only am acquainted with Juan and the Grimaldo group, but that's why he asked me to share with you all today. And again, thank you for the invitation. So, without further ado, a couple of disclaimers here. This is just a personal experience story, like I said. This is it's not a list of scientific facts, okay? This isn't a turn-by-turn roadmap, guaranteed success, blah, blah, blah. Not a social media influencer, Christ. The lessons in this story are not really focused on what I've done necessarily. They're more about how I think, why I thought that way, what I considered in my decision-making processes along the way, and why I thought that was important, not really what it was I actually did necessarily. Mindset is very key. That's already been said since I came in today. Mindset's very, very key. And just a little disclaimer here, both my parents are alive and don't stand to inherit a whole lot anyway. Little disclaimer, haters gonna hate, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so what is real wealth? When I use that term, I'm talking about net worth. What is net worth? Glad you asked. It's the total value of all your assets combined, minus your total liabilities or your debts. If you have $5 million worth of assets to your name, but you have $5 million in debt to your name, your net worth is zero. You might look really wealthy, but you're probably a paycheck or two away from a really bad time. So, when I say net worth, I'm talking about real wealth. It's great to have a Lexus, but not if it means you have a $70,000 car loan. Rolex and designer clothes are fantastic. I love them too. I don't own a Rolex yet. It's coming. But not if it takes 30 grand in credit card debt. I mean, what good is that? A big home with a pool is fantastic. It's fancy, it's comfortable. But if you've got a mortgage, a second mortgage, and a HELOC all borrowed against it, you're basically underwater. That's not real wealth. All right? That's a net worth of zero at the end of the day. Okay, so when I'm talking about net worth, that's what I mean. That difference between assets, value, and total liabilities or total debts. That's how I measure myself and my family, where my wife and I are today. We care about net worth. We don't really care about stuff. And hopefully that comes through in my story. It's not that we deprive ourselves from stuff. We all have, some material desires and all have interests and collect things and have hobbies. That's fine. But not at the expense of what we're trying to build long-term. And for us personally is comfortable retirement early if possible and not having to worry about bills and just enjoy our children as they grow. And anyway, that's part of our goal. So just wanted to explain that. That's what I mean with wealth. I drive a 15-year-old Chevrolet. I shop at Kohl's, Sergio. He had an issue with my Kohl's credit card once upon a time. Walmart and Amazon are my best friends. I'm not a material type of guy, but I want to ensure that I'm comfortable and I'm secure and I don't have any financial concerns as soon as possible. Whether I live to 70 years old or 97 years old, I don't want to have to deal with, oh gosh, I'm on a fixed income and I got to rely on Social Security, which, Christ save us, is probably not going to help any of us, least of all me. All right, so the story begins. The year is 2003. I am about a month away from joining the Marine Corps and shipping out to basic training, and my father says, son, you've had your part-time high school jobs for the last 2 years. Have you saved any money? And I was always kind of studious and a good saver. Didn't really spend much other than gasoline and car insurance for my little car. So I saved up about $8,000. Today's money is about 12, inflation. And he looked at me like he'd, been hit by a bus. He thought I was stupid. And then he immediately thought, why didn't I ask sooner? Because he said, look, you're going off to the Marine Corps. Is it just going to sit in the bank? Or do you have a plan for investing? And I hadn't really thought about it. So it was just going to sit in the bank. Sent me down to talk to a family friend who happened to be a CPA, who happened to have some lots for sale that he was developing. He had just finished, this was like in March of 2003, he had just done my little 1040 easy tax return for, the $4 I made that year because I was 17. And so I called him up and we finished up my taxes. he said, sure, I do have some lots for sale. They're outside of Flagstaff. I'm going to develop them, but it's a slow process, and I'm not selling them on the market yet, but I do have a dozen or so, and you're welcome to one. If you want, I'll draw up an amortization. We'll call up a title agency. We'll do the deal. But the mortgage payment is going to be about $1,100 a month. And for a 17-year-old kid, that's a lot. But I was joining the Marine Corps, so I knew I'd make about that a month. They don't pay you very well in the Marines, by the way. I wouldn't have a lot of spending money. But I figured, you know what? I'm probably going to deploy. They're going to send me overseas. I'm into it. I'm not going to be blowing money anyway. Let's go for it. So I did. And the mortgage payment was like $1,100 a month, and I had very little spending money, if any, for the first 2 years of my service in the Marines. But that's okay. Turned out okay. It was a non-traditional loan, seller financing. I sold it 2 years later and made about $45,000 after Uncle Sam took his cut. And I've hated Uncle Sam ever since. I had about $40,000 of profit in 2 years. And I'd really done nothing other than make the mortgage payment every month. I was hooked. Stashed that money away, never thought about it again. Until I did. That's coming up. I didn't have anything to do with it. I was still in the Marine Corps. I was staring a second and a third deployment in the face. I didn't have any plans for reinvesting my money, so I just stashed it away. I didn't have the time to go looking for more property or a different deal, so I just stashed it away. Ended up getting married, deployed another time, deployed a third time, saved all that deployment money because downrange and outside the wire, not a lot of opportunity to spend your money. And again, the Marine Corps doesn't pay you very well, so I just saved it. My time in the Marines came to an end, and it's the tail end of 2007. And my wife and I decided we needed to buy a home because we're going to live here. And, living with my parents was not a good prospect. So we did. And we found this little place not far from where I grew up, honestly. It's in Gilbert. I grew up in the Queen Creek area. And it was 2007. It was about 200 grand. I had saved up 14K during my deployments and just kind of stashed it away. We used that money for the down payment here. That's not quite 40, or that's not quite 20%. So we had to deal with private mortgage insurance, first-time home buyers, FHA loan, not bad. We lived there for about 18 months. We still own this house today. For the historians in the room, you might remember what happened roughly 6 months later. Kinda. Yes. Right now? $2,250-ish right now. Well, I've refinanced that like 8 times, but it was $1,000. My mortgage payment currently is about $17 after the most recent refi. I get into that later. Cash out refis become very, very helpful, as was just mentioned. Anyway, so 6 months later, we start hearing about the market and how everyone's underwater. And we didn't know what that meant. Come to find out, we were very underwater. We were finding Nemo. We were so far underwater. And if you don't know, that simply means your loan, you owe more on it than it's worth. So you're paying interest on a loan in your mortgage payments for a property that isn't worth what you owe. And a lot of friends at the time, and even folks who were significantly older than we were, walked away, let it go. Walked away from their homes. They went to foreclosure, ruined their credit. And we were even advised you should do the same. It's not worth what you owe on it. And we thought about that, and that sounds scary. But my wife and I thought, well, wait, isn't that what everyone does with their car? When they buy a new car, they drive it off the lot and it depreciates a lot on the first day. Isn't that the same thing? Why don't people walk away from their cars? Weird. That doesn't feel right. Okay, well then, let's say we walk away and we find a place to rent, and we ruin our credit because now we have a foreclosure. And 4 or 5 years from now, our credit recovers and we try to get back in the home buying mode, just to be where we are right now, 5 years down the road, after throwing money away in rent for 5 or 6 years? Why would we do that? That doesn't make any sense. We're both still employed. We can make our mortgage payment. Why would we walk away? Won't the market rebound eventually? And we'll be okay? And we won't be underwater anymore? We didn't know, but we knew we didn't want to walk away. So we stayed. Underwater and everything. One of the best decisions of this story. And there were some bad ones. I'm coming to those. Any other questions? First time home buyer. Oh, I think at its bottom, it was probably worth $65K or maybe $75K. It was still in Gilbert. It's still a very lovely neighborhood. It was then. It still is today. Today, that home is worth about $450. So it worked out. It's not underwater anymore. It took about 3 or 4 years, but it recovered. Okay, so we're underwater. And we're making the payments. We're trying not to worry about it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. The market will rebound. And my wife comes home and says, 3 streets over, the Richmond American, the builder, who was building in that neighborhood, they're selling houses for barely more than what we paid for this, and they're a lot bigger. I was like, no kidding. So we walked down the street, and sure enough, this was 1,000 square feet bigger than that one, and it was only $45K more expensive. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why we've only been here 18 months. Why would we buy that? Well, what if we just turned this into a rental and we moved into the bigger one? Could we do that? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Turns out we could. Again, we're both still employed. We always tried to live beneath our means, save money, be conscientious. We were driving older yet serviceable vehicles that were paid off at that time. So we walked into the sales office, and this is 2009, and builders couldn't give houses away. So they loved us. Worked out. Had this place finished. It was almost done at the time. Finished it, and we moved in. 18 months after moving in to the first house, all of a sudden we had 2. And we moved into this one, and that one became a rental, our first rental. We put $40K down. We used the profits, finally, from that. Because remember, I'd stashed it away, never touched it. So this we sold in 2005, and this we bought in 2009. 4 years later. Patience and the long game, after reflecting, was important because could have blown that 40 grand easily. We were newlyweds, could have gone on trips, only been married for a year or 2 years at that point. It could have disappeared without a second thought. But we figured, hey, opportunities down the road might exist. Probably should be ready for them. And we were. Okay. We lived here for the next 4 years, but not even 1 year later, my wife comes home again. She has a habit of doing this to me. And she said, did you know that 1 mile north of us, another builder is building homes, and they're advertising brand new homes, $125,000 in Gilbert. I said, wow, that seems very reasonable. Let's go look at them. And so we did. And as expected, actually not expected, surprisingly, I was doubtful, but I was wrong. Again, the builder loved us, couldn't give houses away. So we swiped one. It was brand new. It wasn't even under construction yet. We built this. This is a brand new build. We didn't move into this one. It was much smaller than where we were, and we didn't want to move again. It had only been a year since moving into here. We didn't want to move again. That's okay. It's 2010, and builders don't care what you're going to do with the house. They just want to sell them. So we came in as investors, we bought it, and immediately, once it was done, turned it into a rental. 20% down, 25K. Where did we get it? Lived beneath our means and we saved. There's no science, there's no special sauce. We lived beneath our means and we saved. The end. We didn't deprive ourselves. It's not like we stayed in and watched TV every weekend for 48 hours and went back to work and saved every penny. But we were very conscientious with how often we took trips, how often we went out to eat, what cars we drove. I mentioned we drove older cars that were paid off. At this point, we still drove those older cars that were still paid off. Low debt, low credit card usage. We used credit cards, but tried to keep it under control. Tried to pay it off at the end of every month so interest didn't accumulate. All those little things worked well. And again, remember, we didn't save up for this down payment. That was the money from the bare land property 4 years ago. So between 2007 and 2010, that was 3 years of savings, of diligent, saving your extra every month and letting it grow. That model of save diligently for anywhere from 2 to 4 years, and then that's your down payment for the next property, would serve us well. And we replicated that model 6 times, I think. There's not much else to say about it. I already told you all I use Kohl's Cash. You know, my truck's 15 years old and I love it. I'm never selling it. So again, I don't mean to sound like a miser or tight-fisted, but it is true that with some small choices and discipline, 2 or 3 years down the road, suddenly you have capabilities to do things that a lot of people don't. And we did that many times. Okay, it's 2010. Oh, back up. Oh, I went way forward. Hold on. 2010. We are 25 years old. We have 3 houses. And the market is still, all of the rhetoric had not changed. Gloom and doom, no one's buying. The mortgage industry is turned on its head, very, very scary. Nobody was buying. Builders couldn't give houses away. And we have 3 of them. What are we doing? Are we doing the right things? This is kind of weird. This is kind of scary. I thought we were underwater. I thought that was a big deal. Was it? I don't know. Still don't know. Apparently not. So we hit the pause button and we tried to cool our heels a little bit before we screwed around and extended ourselves a little too far and without really knowing what we were doing. We had 2 rentals at this point, and I was doing all of the property management at the time myself. It's very difficult. It's a whole second job. I don't personally recommend. Since then, we've hired professionals for many, many years now. But we paused. We didn't know what the next opportunity would be. We didn't know what the market was going to look like in a year or 3 years or whatever. So we just decided to chill out a little bit. But we still lived beneath our means and saved. I know it's really boring. Question?
Going back to that time, can you repeat again what you said about the doom and gloom and the mortgage rates or the mortgage industry? Because I think we're sitting in that time right now.
Yeah, so everyone you spoke to kind of said the same thing. The market is scary. The mortgage industry was getting, kind of turned upside down because of the whole subprime mortgage meltdown that caused the housing crash in 2008 that still lingered for like the next 4 years after that. And everyone was very cautious. We had just seen 1 million people or more walk away from homes, voluntarily go to foreclosure, ruin their own credit for what? Because it's scary? Like, I'm sorry, like I didn't have a finance degree at this time, but I knew that smelled weird. And I don't know. The lessons, so I told y'all at this point we kind of hit the pause button. The lessons thus far that were starting to become clear were, instead of asking, or instead of assuming it's impossible or that you can't do it, instead we should probably consider, well, wait a minute, if we really had to think about it, how could we pull this off if we really wanted to? And that mindset difference between, oh, that's not possible, I won't even think about it, to, you know what, it might be possible, let's try to figure it out. If we can't figure it out, then it isn't possible, but let's try to figure it out anyway. And just the commitment to doing that, we found very beneficial. If you assume it's impossible, then you sort of make that true. Because if you assume it's impossible, you exonerate yourself from the responsibility of trying to figure it out. I won't even think about it. And you make it true that it's impossible because you don't pull it off. You don't commit to trying. Anyway, that's kind of what we thought about it. But like I said, we did kind of freak ourselves out because we're 25 years old. Nobody owns a house in our age group at that time, and we own 3. It was weird. We were proud of ourselves, but in the back of our minds, we were also kind of wondering, are we royally screwing ourselves over without even knowing it? And could this all come crashing down on us and it'll all be for nothing? We didn't know. So, it's 2010. We are living in property number 3. And 4 years later, opportunity struck again. So this thing was a little bit of a giant. This was also in Gilbert. It's 2013 now. This was my parents' home and they wanted to downsize. When we bought this place, we had no idea that 3 years later, this would be an opportunity. You're going to see a theme here. But we knew we wanted to be ready for whatever that opportunity was. It just so happened that this was it. If this hadn't been the opportunity that came up, we probably would have, grabbed another one of these somewhere. Either way. Regardless, this was a very unique opportunity because it belongs to my parents. I called up a few lenders. I got an approval for a loan. I called up a title agency and I explained what we're doing. And they said, sure, we'll do all the paperwork for you for, lots of fees. And we did. And my parents sold the house to my wife and I. Conventional loan, PMI, $40,000 down payment, we saved up. Remember, we hit the pause button, but we continued to save our money. That was 3 years ago. We got promoted. We got nominal increases in salary. Tried not to significantly upgrade our lifestyle and saved the extra. Kept saving. And it worked out because when this opportunity knocked on our door, we were ready. We didn't know it was coming, but we knew we wanted to be ready. And that's a repeated lesson again and again and again. We moved in. It was bigger than where we were. And we surmised that the bigger the house, the harder it would be to make a rental. So we moved into it. It had a pool, very beautiful, very lovely, lots of maintenance. Lovely landscaping, front and back. In this neighborhood, it had been one of the original model homes in the neighborhood, so it had a lot of cheesy upgrades, but that's cool, I guess. It just, happened to be the case. 3-car garage. Anyway, we lived there for 1 year, and we owned it for an additional 5 years after that, right? Is that my math? Yeah, 5 years after that. And then we finally sold it for $424 in 18. If you saw previously, we did a few things with this home. It's kind of what houses and real estate has enabled us to do. In 2016, we refinanced, took some cash out, eliminated all of our student loans. Didn't plan on doing that, but it became obvious that we could, so why not? We also actually paid this house off in 2022, eliminated the mortgage completely. 2 years later, we recognized that that's all well and good for cash flow, but we're still employed, so we have income. So we went back into debt, took a mortgage out against it again for a very large project that I'll get to momentarily. But these are just examples of what is possible, like at the life level. If you have assets that are worth money, down the road, you can refinance, pull cash out, buy more property, or eliminate other debt. There's many, many options. Yes, in the
Just
back.
wanted to make a comment there because this is the beauty of owning homes over time, that you can make them your bank and borrow against them to purchase more property. That's how we've been doing it too. So thank you for that.
Yeah, agreed. To this point in the story, we haven't done that yet, but we're gonna. All right, so we moved here and we lived there a year. My wife had a very lucrative, not lucrative, that's the wrong word, advantageous opportunity for an internship on the west side, right here in Avondale, actually. Going from Gilbert to Avondale every day was not feasible. So we said, hey, not a big deal. Let's swipe a house on the west side, move out there, turn this into a rental. Not like we haven't done that before. So we found one, but it didn't quite go according to plan. Fun fact, that house is how we met Juan Grimaldo. Too bad the deal didn't close. Can't win them all. Okay, so this house was in Levine, very lovely. Scant 125K, it's worth 400 today. Sucks that it got away. We saved up in that time, in that short amount of time, we had saved up 15K, so we felt pretty good. But the lender that we used denied our loan, and I think they either didn't believe us that we were moving. After all, why would you go from 3,000 square feet in a pool in Gilbert to 1,300 square feet with no pool in Levine? They literally might not have believed us, quite honestly. And you know what? I don't know if I blamed them. But at the time, it hurt. Also, they maybe were just uncomfortable with my wife's school teacher salary and my, enrollment manager position at University of Phoenix at the time salary versus, wait, how many properties do you own? How old are you? Any number of those factors may have caused the underwriter to just be like, no, go somewhere else. And we would have gone somewhere else had we not been pressed for time. We had been a little overzealous, a little overconfident, and we had rented this place out from under ourselves. The new renters were on their way that week. We had to go. So we found a rental sight unseen here in Tolleson, and despite owning 4 houses at that time, we rented for a year and moved out to Tolleson. I got over it. At the time, I was very angry. All's well that ends well. It actually turned out fine because it enabled us to do cool things later. I'll get to that. So the lessons there were, I should have found a different lender. We should have told the renters, we're very, very sorry, but we're not out of it yet. We can't move. And either asked them to amend our lease that had already been signed or offered to let them out of it so that they could find a different place to live, which would have sucked for them too, because like I said, they were already on their way. They were moving in that week. It would have been painful, but I think in the long run, we should have taken the extra time, apologized profusely to those renters, and found another lender. Probably should have called Sergio. But we didn't. Lesson learned. Rented a place, got out, and we moved forward.
And I remember that, Andrew. You were not very happy about that.
Yeah, you know what? That home's worth $400K today. That's can't win them all, folks. Can't win them all. That's all right. The year is 2015. We lived in that rental for 1 year, and it was time to move because if I was going to pay a rental payment for 1 more month, I would have been very, very mad. And so we found this place. This was the first time. No, I take that back. Yeah, no, it was. This was the first time where we never once thought, hey, when we move, it'll be our next rental, even though at this point we'd already done that like 3 times. This house had a pool. It was in the South Phoenix area up against South Mountain. The backyard looked at South Mountain. It was on Dobbins and 16th Street, I think. Used to be a golf course. There's new houses there today, but it used to be a golf course and then the mountains. Very beautiful. Up to this point, we'd never used the VA loan before. I wasn't really interested in it because conventional loans and FHA loans were better loans for where we are, for where we were. But we never used the VA loan before, and I qualify for it, so yeah, let's give it a try. Decent loan. Usually VA loans are for vets who might not have substantial down payment capability. Fortunately, we had decent down payment capability, but despite that, we figured we'd give it a try and see how it worked out. VA loan's a good one, a good interest rate at the time. And to be honest, it just kind of felt like any other mortgage at that point, but wanted to make sure we had a good depth of experience. Some additional paperwork is involved with those types of loans. There's no private mortgage insurance, which is nice, even if your down payment is under 20%, which ours was, as you can see. Again, $15K down payment that we saved up on our own. That was the same $15K that we were going to use to buy this the year prior. We still had it. We didn't, there's nothing to do with it, so we held on to it. Even though that didn't work out, we used that same money for the down payment here, at even a little more actually, because another year had passed and we had saved. We lived there for the next 3 years, and we ultimately sold it in 23 for $415. Similar to this one, pools are lovely and very attractive, but they're not great for landlords to own those properties, personally speaking, because it's much more maintenance cost and monthly maintenance and repairs when necessary. That usually falls on the landlord, and it did on us several times. So while it makes your rental property more appealing to have a swimming pool, it may not be the best financial option for you because it does kind of become a money drain from time to time. This one had a pool, and so did this one. And so when it came time to finally sell a few, they were among the ones that were sold. But that's fine. Made a little bit of money. By the way, I'll pause here. At this point, it's 2023. I'll back up 2 spots. When we sold this, it was 2018. Thank you again to the Grimaldo group for helping me sell this house. Capital gains tax was significant, and that was the first time that I legitimately had to deal with it. I sold that bare land that was outside of Flagstaff years ago, and there was a little bit of capital gains to pay, a couple grand. But when I sold this, that difference in that capital gain was significant, and Uncle Sam will come after you. And it'll make you, well, damn it, it'll make you wonder if you want to keep doing this. Uncle Sam didn't give a shit when I was underwater with the first house, but he'll help himself to my profits when I make good deals. And I've had to deal with that every time I've sold something ever since. Unfortunately, it's just part of the deal. It's part of the gig. You just have to factor that in. Is it worth it to sell? Maybe. Look at all this profit that I could accumulate. Yes, that might be true, but make sure you calculate capital gains because you may not be quite as rich as you think you are. At least I've had that realization a few times, and it's not fun. Better to just grit your teeth, understand that Uncle Sam's going to come for his share, and press forward. It's not the end of the world. Yes, sir.
Important to also mention about the 1031 exchange, which you know about, right?
Oh, I do. That's a good point. Juan mentioned 1031 exchanges. That is a way to defer capital gains tax. You sell this property, and you quick buy the next one with an additional escrow account, with an additional agency helping you. the money, the profit from this house never comes to your bank at all, goes straight into the next one, and it's not taxed. That's the overly simplistic version, but that's essentially what happens. And that could be a great deal. It's also important to understand that you're not avoiding taxes, you're just deferring them. You'll have to pay them, just not now. So, when? The lenders in the room can speak more. Oh, yes, sir.
Would you recommend a tax time?
Yes. Short answer, yes. If you want to avoid taxes completely, you cash out refi and you don't sell. And that is a good lesson. My wife and I probably aren't going to be interested in selling any of our current homes, and probably won't if we don't have to ever again, for that reason. Why? Because if we need the cash out of them, we can just refinance and yank the cash out of them. They're rentals. The renters are paying the mortgage. And hopefully, you don't cash out refinance to the point where the rent no longer covers the mortgage payment, because that's awkward. I've done that. But yeah, you don't have to sell necessarily. Yes?
How many of the 27
I have never 1031 exchanged. I might in the future. But I don't think I'm going to sell anymore. So I might never have to deal with it. But I have never done the 1031 exchange person. Well, yeah, I might. Sure. Of course. The depreciation on the rentals, absolutely. And yes, there are many advantages to that. But we kind of got to where, at the end of the day, Uncle Sam's going to get his, and taxes aren't going to go down. They're only going to go up. So do you want to pay taxes now, or do you want to pay taxes later? It depends on where you are and what you're trying to do. Why did I sell properties over the past several years? Because I needed cash. If I didn't need cash, I would have 1031 exchanged and avoided taxes to give myself more cash. But you can't do that. You have to cash out refi, and we did end up doing that several times. But honestly, with these particular houses that I sold, they had pools. Probably good opportunity to get rid of them anyway, because that was turning into kind of a money pit. Maintenance costs. All right, I'll move forward. We lived here for 3 years. Very, very beautiful. Eventually sold it. While we were living there, we sold the big guy in Gilbert. We had owned it for 5 years at that point, or thereabouts. We sold it, and we paid Uncle Sam, and we took the leftovers, and we bought ourselves another rental in Phoenix, right here, in 2018. The down payment was 20%, and we got it from selling the big house that I just showed you. That's how we got the down payment for this one. Bought it as a rental. We never moved in. We ultimately sold it in 2023. And we had some money left over, so we bought this lovely old place in Mesa and moved into it. And we turned our house that we'd been at for the last 3 years into another rental. And we moved in here. This was 2018. We bought it for $325,000. We only had $25,000 left over from the sale of that big house in Gilbert, so we used that as our down payment. And it was a conventional loan, but we did have private mortgage insurance, again, because we didn't have 20% down. That's okay. We had dealt with that a few times by then, so no big deal. We lived there for the next 3 years. It also had a pool. This house and this house, my wife and I bought for ourselves to live in. The assumption was that we would live there for a long time. Didn't work out that way. They had pools because we wanted a pool. I'm not going to buy houses with pools anymore for that reason, but anyway. Great place to live. Our daughter was born in 2020. Brought her home to this place. We owned it. We moved out in 18, and we owned it for, 6 more years? I'm sorry. We moved out of it in 21, And we owned it for 3 years after that. It was a rental for 3 years. And it was a good one. Well, I should say the renters were very good renters, but the house and the pool, the house was built in 83. It was the oldest one we had by far. And the pool was also built in 83. There were big upkeep issues on the horizon. Wasn't keen on dropping $30,000 or $40,000 for redoing pools or rewiring because there were old outlets in the house, and old wires. So ultimately we ended up selling this one. And we paid Uncle Sam for the privilege. More questions? Okay. To this point, our lifestyle has just been buy them, save up, move in, or don't move in. Sell one, buy 2 more, move in, or don't move in. It wasn't a thing anymore. It's just how we lived. It's 2018. Our daughter was born in 2020. So yeah, I came home from the Marines in 07. So for 13 years at this point, it wasn't special in our minds anymore. It's just how we've lived. We didn't really have some grandiose end game in mind. It's just what we did. We assumed that we would be well established for a comfortable retirement, but we didn't really give a whole lot more thought to it after that. We have good jobs and we like our jobs, so we'll just keep working, regular folks. But as often happens, life looks different after you have a kid. And we were 35 at that point, just 5 years ago. Oh, going the wrong direction. So at this point, we have, at this point, I've lost count. Way back in, I think it was this. Yeah, it was when we hit the pause button after the 3rd house. We started making a joke. Hey, at this rate, we'll have 10 of these things by 40 years old. We got to 10. We were 37. It was approximately that house. I don't know if that was the 10th or if, yeah, that had to have been the 10th. It wasn't a joke anymore. It was reality. And we reflected and we were like, wow, how long ago was that? Oh, that was just 10 years ago-ish, thereabouts. Oh my God. Okay. Well, what are we really doing? Well, I don't know. It's, saving, I guess. Still doing that, by the way. It's very boring, I know. So, because we don't know how to sit on our hands and just be still, we decided to shake it up and buy a couple of houses back to back because we could and try new areas like Santan Valley. We picked up this place in Santan Valley for $221 and $19. We saved up for this down payment. How did we do that? Good question. Because we used proceeds from that sale for this, kept our savings. Proceeds from that sale for this, kept our savings. And we've been living in that since 2015. So between 2015 and 2019, that's 4 years. We had saved it up. Again, sometimes I wish it was cooler sounding than that, but it's not. However, I believe this is the last house that followed this model. I could be wrong. I get them mixed up. Anyway, we ultimately sold it 4 years later. We never moved in. This was a rental from day one. Very lovely Johnson Ranch area in Santan Valley. Again, 20% down, conventional mortgage, nothing fancy. Sergio may have wrote this loan. I don't recall. Probably. You wrote 2 or 3 of mine at this point. All right. In 2021, my wife kind of got the itch for a new house again because we don't know how to learn lessons. And this place was lovely, but we had just had our daughter and it was a little older and we knew maintenance issues were on the horizon and we wanted to shake things up and get closer to where her and I are from. This is in Gilbert. This was a new build. The last 6 houses that we've seen were existing. This was a new build. We're back to new builds. The first 3 were new builds. And then we took a long hiatus from new builds, and then we went to the builder. This is a new build Fulton home, or it was at that time. For the first time ever, we did something crazy. Never done this before. Cash out refied house property number 2, our very first house, the one that was underwater, 15 years prior to this, had appreciated and recovered to the point where there was a boatload of equity in it. We took a big chunk of it out to use as the down payment for this new place. Pretty cool we didn't walk away, right?
What was the price?
It was probably, it wasn't 4 yet. It was probably 315 at that point, and we took out about 70K.
And you bought it for
199.
199.
Yeah.
How much was the balance down all the way? 2.
Oh, we owed more on it than we bought it for.
Because you kept borrowing from it. You borrowed before.
Yeah, so its current loan is more than we ultimately paid for it way back in the day. That's true. But thankfully, its value is like 415 now, or 450.
And what I'm trying to get here is that you used money from that house to build more wealth as the years went on. And this is what people don't realize, that as time goes on, you owe less and less and less, and the house is worth more and more. So it's a big gap that you are able to build.
The delta, it starts slow, but the lines diverge quickly, which is nice. And people ain't gonna stop moving to Arizona, folks. So at the end of the day, how many houses do you own? Markets change, interest rates change, seller's market, buyer's market. I still am not confident that I know the difference. Because if it's a buyer's market, then all the buyers rush to buy, and then there's high demand, and it becomes a seller's market. I'm fairly intelligent. I still don't really get it. At the end of the day, how many pieces of dirt do you own? That's what I'm concerned with. All right. We lived here. Lovely place. Back in Gilbert. No yard. Tiny little side yard. But our daughter loved it. And it was a really good deal because, for the historians in the room, in 2020 and in 2021, COVID was going on. And builders it was scary. Builders couldn't give away houses. No one's buying houses. Oh my God. We have to social distance our houses or something like that. So it was a great deal. Gilbert for $345. This house is worth $550 today. Should have bought 2. That's another lesson. I should have bought, in retrospect, I should have bought 3 of those. Guess I never asked myself, how could I? I just assumed that I could buy 1 and that was it. I'm not sure if that's true. I probably should have tried to buy 3. All's well that ends well, though. Same thing with this one. I should have bought 3 of these because they climbed, as soon as COVID tapered down, the value of these guys climbed really quickly. And yeah, it's $550 today, easily. It's 2,000 square feet. It's got 4 bedrooms, great family home if you have a bunch of kids, or if you just have 1 or 2 kids, great home. Anyway, again, conventional mortgage, no PMI, lived there for 4 years, still own it today. It's a fantastic rental. My mortgage payment, I think, is like $16 a month on that house, and it rents for $26. So not all of our houses are like that. In fact, 2 of them currently lose money every month, but not this one. That was a good move. Okay. I mentioned that having kids changes the way you think. We had our second kid when we were living here in 2022. And shortly thereafter, in early 2023, we sort of stumbled into what the end game would be. So I'll get to that in a few slides. But in the meantime, we bought another rental in Santan Valley in 2021, just a short time, just several months after moving into this place. Never moved in, rental, again, cash out refinanced, one of the other properties. Not that same one of the other ones. Conventional mortgage, no PMI, bought as a rental, never moved in. Meh. Still own it today. And did it again the next year in 22. Again, cash out refi, property number 3 to get the cash. So now at this point, we've refinanced and used the cash for 3 existing properties to buy 3 additional properties. And we didn't use any of our savings. We're still doing that, by the way. We're still saving. Again, conventional mortgage, bought as a rental, never moved in. But markets are funny things. This one and this one lose money every month. This one doesn't. This one covers it. But not everything that glitters is gold. And it might take some time for Santan Valley to start appreciating again. Part of the gig. We understand that. We were underwater with house number 1. But we decided that being patient, stay the course. We don't have to sell. We don't have to walk away. Let's be patient and see what happens. We're confident that after a brief downslide, Santan Valley will recover and these will be just fine. Yes, sir.
You know, you mentioned about net worth, right? So when you have multiple real estate properties like Andrew does, right? As a lender, I can tell you that we look at, we look at the net worth, how much real estate is owed, how much debt, and whatever the difference is the net worth. We also do a cash flow on rental, right? You mentioned a few properties lose money. That's not important when you have multiple pieces of the property because it's how much you add all the rents that you get,
total cash flow,
right? And then you subtract what your payments are, and your total is either positive or negative. Of course, once you have a bunch of properties, the important is to have a positive, which he does. Even if you're losing on 2, the other ones will make up for the loss, and then the force of appreciation compounds over time, so that he can make money on the equity. So that's the cash flow, right? So you can do cash flow either with, the cash flow for the rents.
And I think that's the game. And one of the important things to note about that is it's a long-term game, right? People want to get into real estate, and do I want every property to double like from 2019 till 2024, 25? 100%, but that's not the case.
That's great when it happens, but it doesn't always happen.
It doesn't always happen, but if you're patient enough, as we showed you the graphs, and Andrew wasn't here for the first part, so he's not sharing something that we mentioned, but he's saying the same thing that we went over. If you're patient, the market will change. There's going to be a buyer's market, a seller's market, a buyer's market.
Who knows?
It's patience. Yes.
Sir.
I've always wanted to ask you, have you done any type of pondering or like comparing, like if you were to have just saved your money and put it in the stock market, for example, all the down payments that you put in to all these, it still would be, I believe, exponential growth because you're gaining on each one of these.
Oh yeah.
Values.
So if I had taken all of the down payments that I've mentioned thus far, the ones that I saved up for, because I didn't save up for these, but all the down payments that we spent years saving up for, if I'd have just thrown that in the stock, yeah, I mean, no. I haven't found an asset like a rental property that appreciates in value and cash flows like rental properties. Stocks can be cool. Mutual funds can be cool. There's a lot of options, but I haven't found a better idea than what this is. Yes, sir.
Roughly per property.
$200-300
$200-300.
each per month. And I'm eating it, and it sucks.
In essence, it's not a loss because paying your mortgage is a percentage. Say it's what, 15 to 20% of what your payment is a month is actually going into lowering down.
Correct. So what he's referring to is basically realizing that, are you losing money every month? Technically, yes. But at the end of the year, if the house appreciated 10 grand, are you really out anything? No, you're not. And it's still rented. It's not like you were, and it's still rented. And your principal has been reduced and the equity has grown. Sure, it cost you $200 extra a month, and that's a bummer. You got to come up with that on your own. But at the end of the day, long game, are you really in the red? I don't think so. Yes, sir.
So and then the other thing with the losses, right? You have to look at it again. It's probably going to be looked at on the totality, right? Because when you go to your accountant, right? Again, being a lender, part of my job is to analyze taxes, right? The Schedule E on the taxes has certain things that are deducted. Again, this is something you should consult with your accountant. But what I can tell you from the lending perspective is that, when you lose money, right, it reduces your taxable income, right? There's also other things called depreciation.
Yeah.
Right, that
Losing,
are gonna
yeah.
help minimize. So it's not a total $300 loss, right? Because there's some reduction with taxes, depreciation. It might even out, or you might still lose.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You're right, because in a business perspective, and while I don't technically own a business, I treat these like it's my business. You don't really want big profits every month because that's highly taxable. I'd rather have on paper a loss because I know that the asset's growing in value, it's rented, long-term game is what's important. So if I lose money, did I really? Okay, I'm way over time. I'm going to get to the point of this. Been teasing it. Having children changes how you think. I grew up on a piece of dirt in the Queen Creek area. We raised chickens. We changed our own oil in our cars, and my father drove a truck. And I wanted that semi-rural, fresh air life for my children. And so that became the goal. Fortunately, my father happens to own a rundown house on 2 acres in Queen Creek. So we bought it from him. He still lives there, by the way. Free rent for life. It's a great deal. $60K down. I used the profits from selling one of the properties that I told you about, number 7, just for perspective. We sold this place in 2023. We took that profit, or we took that money, paid Uncle Sam, and we gave it to my father as a down payment for this place. And it was a 2-year process, all of 23 and all of 24. Total gut renovation loan, seller financing, very, what do I have it? Yeah. Non-traditional renovation loan in addition to seller financing. A 2-year process. We basically added 1,000 square feet to the home, completely gutted it, refurbished it. General contractors are the way to go. Again, make sure they're trustworthy as best you can. We had a really good experience. Sunk a pool because we don't learn lessons. And because theoretically, this is the forever home. There is my father had built a 6,000 square foot shop and RV garage in the back acre. I obviously wanted that because I need space for trucks. We also built an ancillary residence. There's a guest house on it. So the pool, the guest house, the full gut renovation, total budget, $550,000. That's why I sold number 6, number 8, and number 9, and number 7. It wasn't enough. I also had to cash out refi number 4. Again, that was the one I had paid off. Took it back into debt, took another $100K out of it because I needed it. Pool builders need cash. So do contractors. And we moved in February 1st this year. It's where we live today. God willing, I don't want to move them anymore. Yeah, but I'm in it like every day, so it's okay. It's okay. Today, it wasn't worth it. This is a good deal. When we bought it from my father, it was approximately 65 in value, I think. Or I'm sorry, 650 in value, I think. So that is a good deal. But obviously, you factor in his coming retirement. I mean, he's semi-retired already. For him, eliminating bills, living with his grandchildren on site. He lives in the guest house. Yeah, it's invaluable. Stuff like you get to those years and that kind of stuff becomes far more important than ROI, return on investment or anything like that. He's in Venice, Italy right now, by the way. I'm pretty sure I paid for that trip. That's fine. That's fine. No, but, and free rent for life, 70 years old, retirement. I don't want bills. I'm 70. It worked out well for him. Obviously, it worked out well for us. And having granddad on the property is also invaluable. Bedtime stories for my children twice a week or more. Okay. 1.3. I have it. Yeah, I basically put 1.1 into it, and it's approximately 1.3 today. Well, yeah, since February, since it was done. I don't owe that much money. I owe roughly, 480-ish, 470-ish remaining. And my father's getting up there, so we have a plan. He wasn't interested in a 30-year mortgage, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, no surprise, wants what he's owed sooner than that. So we have an accelerated payment plan worked out. And again, walk into a title agency and explain what you're trying to do, and yeah, we'll do the paperwork. Cool. It's not traditional. Not many people do it that way, but it's... No. He's the bank. He's the bank, exactly. And that was key. He bought it in 16 for like 365 or something. It was insane. Now, the house wasn't in great shape, let's be fair. But still, for what it is today, amazing deal. But that was 2016. Markets change. We had no idea that this was the end game until 2022. Yet, from 07 to 2022, we had done all these things. So it goes to show, at least in our minds, that you don't have to have a plan for having 10 houses by 40 years old, or having 12 total, or whatever milestone you come into. You just have to have a plan for the next one. And for us, as you saw, that changed. Save up for down payment. Sell another place for a down payment. Refinance another place for a down payment. It could be any number of those things. There is no set way of skinning a cat, if you will. Okay, so, and because we're silly, I was tired of looking at my 401k not growing, so I liquidated that son of a bitch. I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I tore up my 401k, I took all the cash, and I bought another rental. Was that a good deal? I don't know. It's in Gilbert, so hopefully location. But I paid an arm and a leg for a small house. So I'm hoping that that turns out okay. Never moved in. We did that just for fun in 2023 because construction was underway and going really slow. And I was bored. I'm serious. My 401k, I don't know if I am a shitty investor or if the accounts or the mutual funds that the 401k was using just weren't growing very well. I had that 401k for 10 years. It barely appreciated, to about 140k from zero in over 10 years. So it's not nothing, but I had paid the majority of that. That wasn't growth the way it's supposed to. So I wasn't satisfied with its growth rate. I figured I knew how to grow money better than the 401k people did. Yeah, the preceding 10 years of the 401k, yeah. Well, I'd never really thought about it because it was a bunch of paperwork. But then I looked into it and I was like, I can do this. Look at what I'm doing here. I'm doing this 2-year evolution of contractors and pool builders and refinancing and selling. By the way, selling 4 homes, refinancing a 5th, buying this and renovating it and sinking a pool with toddlers over a 2-year period is not easy. Anyway, paid off though. So what will property number 15 be? When will it occur? What will it be? Will it be a cabin up north? An Airbnb perhaps? Never done that before. That might be cool. Maybe not. Probably not. We don't know what the next opportunity is going to be, but we're already living beneath our means and saving for it. And I'm kind of getting the itch. So probably 2026, I think. I'll conclude with the lessons. No one plans to fail, but most people, almost all people, fail to plan. Have a plan. It doesn't have to be how to get 10 by 40. It just has to get the next one. Just has to involve the next one. We didn't come up with that plan in the beginning. We didn't even know what we were working towards until opportunity knocked. How can I versus I can't? Like I said earlier, if you assume it's impossible, then it is. Guard how you think. Nothing worthwhile ever came easily. You're going to have setbacks. I've been to court twice, lost both times. Renters kind of, have preference for better or for worse. I've gotten over it. It's fine. I lost a little bit of money, but hey, property management that also offers legal services is, worth it, probably. Patience. Rome wasn't built in a day. There's going to be setbacks. Stay focused. Live beneath your means. Use the extra, like I've mentioned. And finally, it doesn't matter if you're 18 years old like I was, 41 years old like my brother-in-law was, or 67 years old like my father-in-law was. It's never too late. My brother-in-law has 4 houses now. My father-in-law has 2. You can have 10K down or 80K down. You can save, you can refinance, you can liquidate your 401K. It's not for everyone. You might have PMI, you might not. It might be a conventional loan, it might be non-traditional, it might be FHA. I've done all of those many times. You might move in, you might not. At the end of the day, fortune favors the bold. So in my view, the lesson, be bold. I really appreciate it. I hope you all learned something.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
You have time for maybe a couple questions?
I do. I do have time for a few questions if anyone has them. I do have a lunch date, but I got time.
Sorry, we went beyond, but I hope this was valuable for you guys. Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Do you ever see yourself investing outside of country, maybe a vacation, like Mexico, for instance?
I have thought. I have thought about a beach house in Rocky Point on more than one occasion. I have not pulled that trigger yet. I don't know if I ever will, because there's a lot of just geopolitical differences. How many rules and laws and taxes and regulations and hoops to jump through might there be that I don't know anything about? And yes, I could learn about them, but would it ultimately be worth it, or would I just be seen as a money pit, if you will? I need to get property management for the months that I'm not there. Utilities. Houses on beaches deteriorate. So haven't pulled that trigger. A lot more goes into that versus what I'm used to, but I'm not opposed. Maybe.
One of the things that I would share in my perspective, in my view, in buying property outside of the country or other places to vacation is, with the rental income, you can live anywhere you want and have somebody else pay for it and just rent the place without having to do with the maintenance. Because you're right, there's many political issues that you have no control over.
Yeah, all of a sudden, foreign nationals, tomorrow foreign nationals owning property might become illegal, and I'm SOL.
Yep.
And that's not a Mexico thing per se. That's in any country.
Yep.
So that can be scary. Although that can happen here too. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. Claudia is very helpful, guys.
In the presentation, but I think something that resonated with me is your dad. Obviously your dad is in a good place to retire, and it's funny that the story started with him putting that, hey, you're 18, you have money, go buy this land, and kind of that full circle that I didn't hear previously in your presentation. So it's really cool to see where that seed was planted and how far that went. So thank you.
That's not lost on me. And you're right. 2 years ago when I gave this presentation, or 3 years ago rather, that part of the story didn't exist yet. But yeah.
And it's
I
so
agree,
cool that
thanks.
we're able to be part of this because, and I want to thank you for spending your time here. Andrew doesn't charge us for this, and I want to thank you for that because we were talking before we started his presentation, how we want to give back. Like this is more than selling you a home or trying to twist your arm to doing something. It's like, how can we give back and how can we teach these things that aren't taught in school? Which in reality, this should be part of the education process because this is how you build true wealth. And we have the means of having access to the banks. With the VA, you can get 100% financing. With the down payment assist, you get 100% financing. There's many ways to get into real estate by just having the information that most people don't. And that's why we do these kinds of events. So I want to thank you for that, for giving us your time and spending it here with us. I know you have your family, you love your family, and
I do.
Yeah,
no, I'll head out. And if anything else to say, yeah, it's amazing what's possible that you don't realize is possible because you don't really know what questions to ask. And so every lesson that's learned along the way, every purchase and sale is a different experience that adds and grows confidence. So I'm very confident with buying and selling now, but I wouldn't be if I hadn't. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be if I'd never done it. So a lot of people don't have, I've never done that before. It's scary and it can be. What if I lose everything? That's a real question. Absolutely. But like I said, it doesn't matter how old you are. And would I be in a different place if I'd have started later? Yes. Yeah. That's okay. It probably wouldn't be a terrible place. It'd probably be fine. But it wouldn't be the same place. So everyone's journey is different. You might start differently. You might buy different places. You might like duplexes and condos because there's homeowners associations and more structure around maintenance that houses, don't enjoy. And that might be your thing, not my thing, and that's okay. So again, this isn't a roadmap to success. That's why I disclaim immediately. This is just my experiences. It's just what I've done, and what I hope to continue to do for a couple more years till I get tired of it. I haven't gotten tired of it yet. But anyway, thank you all very much. I hope you all learned something. Let me get this microphone.
thanks to you too, because a lot of you guys have worked with us and we're grateful for that. Thank you so much. All right.